What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Batman News Weekly. This is episode 153 in year 3. We are nearing that year 4 marker, ladies and gentlemen. But we have a lot to talk about this week. We got comics, we got details, of course, everything with WB still coming out. But the first thing I want to talk about, ladies and gentlemen, is something that I found out yesterday while trying to research stuff for Batman News Weekly, because we want to try to make the podcast go bigger. We want to, like I said, if you haven't subscribed to the new YouTube channel or the YouTube channel, we're trying to do things different there to get more viewers over there. But we want to just kind of expand the Batman News Weekly reach. And while doing this, I checked out our reviews on Apple Podcasts. Now, I don't ever care about reviews. I'm pretty sure we've talked about this on the podcast before, but I'm just like, you know what? You do things for yourself. I don't care about like critics or anything like that, because you don't know how you're going to take a movie. Like I even say that when I shit on something here, you should still go read it if you want to. If you
we're very big. We're very big on forming your own opinion.
Yes, because I've always mentioned this. I wanted to become a writer and filmmaker after I watched M. Night Shyamalan's The Village, and people hate that movie. There's a lot of people that hate that movie, but it inspired me to want to get into movies. So I'm just like, you just never know what's going to inspire you or make you want to do something. Well, while checking out this Apple reviews, I noticed we had a pretty low ranking. It was about a 2.8. And I'm not here being like, we're a 5-star podcast. Like, I'm not going to fucking sit here and say that shit. But I don't think we're a fucking like 1-star podcast. And we had a shitload of 1-star reviews. And now we had 13 reviews. It's not a lot, right? But a majority of them were 1 stars. And I was like, how? And there was no reviews, by the way. Like nobody left reasons why.
It's only ranking the podcast, which is Apple's way of, doing their algorithm. You just put 1 to 5 stars, and then you have the option to actually write out a review. And this is why I'm going to go ahead and name this portion of the podcast Review Bombing Batman News Weekly, because I feel like, due to our opinion on the Batman, I feel like people probably heard about this, probably went through the grapevine, or just some regular listeners that really love the Batman just decided to say, hey, you know what, F you guys, and gave us 1-star reviews.
And if you're curious on like, well, why are you saying that? It's because the Batman review is our highest like viewed or listened to podcast. I want to say on YouTube, we probably had, let me look it up right now. I'm pretty sure we had 800 listens on the downloads alone, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't know what we had on YouTube. On YouTube, we had 250 plus views, which is a pretty good video on YouTube at this point. For a what was that? Almost 2-hour podcast. So, probably over 1,000 people listened to a review, and a majority of them may or may not have liked it. And the only reason why it seems like it's a review bomb is because a majority of it is 1 stars, right? Like something has to be extremely awful and bad to get a 1 star and to have the majority of it, right? But we have talked about this on the podcast, I think, and just in general, the new way fanboys and people show their dislike for something when they don't agree is to review bomb shit. We see that with movies all the time.
Movies and TV shows now.
Yeah. The moment they don't like something, it's a review bomb. Video games too. Last of Us, everybody was review bombing The Last of Us, which if you didn't like Last of Us 2, that's cool because you didn't like certain parts of the story, but the game is phenomenal. It is fucking great. So I just wanted to throw that out there. If you guys ever if you've been listening to this podcast for a long time and you wanted to support us in a way that is not monetary, go drop a review on your respected place that you listen to it. Because Spotify has reviews, Apple has reviews, any podcast place you're listening to it, drop a review if you can. Go drop your stars. We're not asking for 5 stars, just what you think the podcast is. If you all think it's 1 stars, well then you know what? Fuck it. At that point, then we're just 1 stars. But the reason why, again, I don't care about reviews, but unfortunately, the way like algorithms and shit work is the lower star rank you have, the lower you're going to show up in search results. And I kind of want to try to get the podcast, if possible, up to a high search result. So people are like, whoa, what's Batman News Weekly? And that way, the higher the ranking, the better the ranking, the more people are going to be able to listen to the podcast. You know what I mean? And, the bigger the podcast gets, the cooler shit we could do if we have stuff in the future, So
Exactly.
that's definitely something I wanted to bring up. I was just like, what the hell? Because I was looking at some of the other Batman podcasts out there, and some of them are rated pretty high. And I was like, oh, I wonder what our rating is. And then I went and checked, and I was like, why the fuck are there all these 1-star reviews? But we are also I wouldn't say we're a controversial podcast, but we're not we don't suck Batman's dick podcast. There's a lot of people out there that will just kind of say nice things on podcasts because they don't want to upset anybody. We've never came into it like that. If we don't like something, we're going to say it, because I think that's the only way you can make change. You have to have people that voice their opinions. If Batman is just always bad and people just keep buying it, then it's never going to change. You're never going to get new writers. You're never going to get fresh takes. And I think there needs to be a vocal, even if it is a minority out there that needs to speak up and be like, yo, bro, this isn't actually perfect, or it's not great. You know what I mean? Just wanted to bring that up. But now we're going to go ahead and dive in to, I don't know. We have so much topics this week. Let's go ahead and dive into Batgirl stuff. Because from what I didn't know this. Is this composer's name, Natalie Holt?
Yes. So Natalie Holt, she started to get really big with the Loki soundtrack on Disney Plus. She was really big there. From there, she went to Obi-Wan Kenobi, and from there, she had gone to Batgirl. She had done a full 90 minutes of composing music.
Yeah.
When the studio shut it down. She came out to say that she had done all these different themes, and she had finished 90 minutes of it. Not saying that is, well, the movie, from what we were hearing, was maybe a little closer to 2 hours. So, I mean, pretty damn close, halfway. And I just think that fucking sucks.
I wonder if that's part of something that can't be released. Can you release that?
That would be interesting.
Can't
release it.
I would assume you just can't. If you're doing a tax break, you can't release the whole thing, right? The finished product, right?
Yeah.
So, could they drop a scene here and there? If they wanted to, or is that against the rules? What if there was a trailer that was already cut and it dropped?
See, that's interesting. So you can't drop it to get monetization. You can't make money from it.
Yeah.
But if you, WBD, Warner Brothers Discovery, drop it on your Warner Brothers YouTube channel, you're still technically making money off of that product, right? So I don't think they can do that.
Yeah. I mean, again, you have the option to turn monetization off. So
true. I wonder if she is under any contract that says you can't let go of any of this music. You can't drop any of that.
What's his name wasn't able to for Snyder's cut. For a long time.
Junkie XL. That's right. Yeah.
So maybe they can't. Which, if this is something that's dude, I don't know, man. The way I'm conniving, I feel like I would, if this was me, this shit would 100% get leaked. If somebody ever did this to me, because what I would, if I was a musician, because I feel like the actual movie is probably in a WB vault, right? So the directors can't get to it. But if I was the composer, music is so easy to have on a flash drive.
And what I have learned through art school, doing audio engineering, the first thing that we are told, save all of your work.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure Natalie has freaking 4 copies of this music saved somewhere.
Yeah.
I would leak it. I would totally leak it. And the thing is,
the way I would leak it though is I would fake somebody breaking into my house. And then they steal it. And then I would be like, yeah, I just had a bunch of old music files and stuff. And they stole some money and shit like that. And then a year later, have it leak onto the internet. just randomly. Give yourself enough time to fucking
like
separate.
Because I'll say this: she has started like being nominated for big awards. She was working alongside John Williams for Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like, she is starting to get like almost on the side of, like, do you remember how like Giacchino was getting really big because of all of his Star Wars and MCU work and all of that, then going on to the Batman? Like, she is on that kind of ride. Like, she is moving on up. And so, like, you could easily like go the route you did, take all of that Disney money, buy a random laptop, go to a random Starbucks somewhere, drop the music, throw the laptop away, and just be like, I don't know who did that.
Yeah. I would definitely leak something like that. I mean, that's the unconfirmed story of how Deadpool got made, right? Yeah. Ryan Reynolds had some people or knew some people that had the trailer and they dropped it, and he was like, I don't know how that happened. Oh shit, pretty crazy. And look at what happened. It turned into a $800 million movie.
Well, not only that, I feel like the cancellation of Batgirl, like, altogether, and I know we've talked about this, it's already almost been a month since it's been canceled, but I feel like the cancellation itself has already made this Batgirl movie more known than anything.
Yeah. I mean, because it hasn't been done. We just had the former mayor of our city comment on it, which was insane.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And he was just saying it was despicable to destroy the first Latino superhero. So like it's pretty crazy that people that you would not expect to comment on this, it has commented on it.
Yeah.
But again, like I've said I wanted to see it, but if their goal is to not put out anything bad, then we'll see what happens. That though we have a topic that we will be discussing if that's even their plan anymore. Yeah. But I don't know, man. Like I definitely want to see it, but at the same time, I mean, everybody in the world was talking about Morbius. Didn't make it a good movie. So
true. But at the same time, you have weird phenomenons. We call these things like, oh, it got memed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like Morbius got memed and it didn't do well. But Minions got memed and it made a shit ton of money. Yeah. Altogether, Paramount is now the only studio outside of Disney that has made $3 billion in the same calendar year.
Yeah. The thing is, the Minion meme, like, the only way you could make the meme was to go see the movie. Yeah. So, like, that was genius. You know what I mean? And I feel like, yeah, Morbius wasn't like that. Morbius was just taking things from the movie and saying it's Morbin time,
Yeah.
Nobody was doing it in the theater. But the Minion thing was literally, if you want to be a part of the meme, dress up nice, buy a ticket. And I think a lot of people were showing their ticket and they all walked into the theater. Like, that's just too much effort. And so, like, of course you're going to watch the fucking movie, And yeah, pretty insane. But we're never going to get rid of the Minions. Like, it's insane. But I will say it's stupid shit like that. Like, there's a lot of people right now clamoring for Shrek 5. So
I've seen that. It's fucking weird. Have you seen the...
I didn't know there was a Shrek 4. What happens in Shrek 4?
I have no fucking clue, dude.
I will say,
no clue.
I will say Shrek is the one movie that I've heard people laugh the hardest at ever in my life. I think it's Shrek 3, where they're stuck in the dungeon and Pinocchio's like, yeah, tell a lie. He's like, say you're wearing ladies' underwear. And he's like, I'm wearing ladies' underwear. And they're like,
and it doesn't
move. It doesn't grow. He's like, it's a thong. And when they did that, and I think it slaps, I think he slaps the thong on him. Everybody was dying, dude. I've never heard a theater laugh that loud before.
Did you see that Mike Myers did a Netflix movie where he shows up as live action Shrek?
No. He doesn't look great nowadays.
No, he doesn't. But it's like, it's one of those, just classic Mike Myers movies where he plays multiple characters.
Yeah.
And there's a live action Shrek in that movie.
That's pretty cool. I've always wanted, my dream, if I could have any movie come back, is I want a modern day Wayne's World where they're dealing with today's music.
So it would be like I don't know how well did freaking shit, what was the Keanu Reeves fucking
Oh, Bill and Ted.
yeah, how did that do
Well,
when it
that was
came back?
still COVID time, isn't it?
I think so.
So
Yeah.
you can't really that there's going to be that 2-year period of movies that came out that you can't fully gauge, except for like Bloodshot. That it wasn't going to make any money if there was COVID or
No.
not. So like,
No.
you know what I mean? We
I
gave him money though.
I still fucking hate you for that, man.
It was Isa Gonzalez, okay?
It was one of our last movies to see in
Yeah.
theaters, and then when freaking that Robert Pattinson movie, we're like, we need to get the taste out of Bloodshot
Yeah.
out of our mouths. We need to go see this movie.
Yeah, it was an omen for what was to be had with COVID. So, hey man, I gotta support Isa Gonzalez. Which I didn't see that ambulance movie though, because like I have not been to a theater in so long. We're going to a theater today, so
Yeah.
that's the I haven't been since Bell. I'm pretty sure. So that was
and
what
Bell is now
February?
on HBO Max, so I'm finally gonna watch it this
Oh,
weekend.
nice. It's good. Good. Modern day Beauty and the Beast. So yeah, there was all of that with Batgirl. Man, what is the biggest? All of this does have to deal with a lot of the DCEU. I feel like our biggest topic is Ezra, though, so we'll cover that last. So let's dive into the possibility of Greg Berlanti or The Rock being the heads of DC Studios, where I have not even seen this, the Rock part at least.
Yeah, so the thing is, Greg Berlanti's name has come up even before the whole argument of like now that Zazov is actually making moves to make a better DCEU or better, DC franchise for
Yeah.
WBD. Berlanti, of course, was the head of everything that happened on the DCCW.
Yeah.
And so everybody's like, oh, well, with a bigger budget, better actors, he can do the same thing that he did for the first 3 or 4 years.
Was it always Berlanti? Wasn't there like a Guggenheimen guy?
He's a writer.
Oh,
He's
but
not the
was that the
producer.
guy that got like sexual assault allegations, or was that
No.
somebody else?
It was a completely different person.
Oh, okay. The Guggenverse is what it was.
Yeah.
Originally.
So Berlanti has had, I think, 3 or 4 actual like theatrical released movies out. And so they're like, he has the ability to do this stuff. He was attached to the original Green Lantern movie, and he's currently attached to the Green Lantern show that is still in production. And they said it's going to make a release for 2024.
Yeah.
I genuinely, I think it's more than just, oh, I can do what I did at the CW on the big screen. I think it takes a lot more than that.
Yeah.
For me, out of all the years of the CW, the only time I have seen Greg Berlanti is in pictures attached to articles. I have never seen the man in a video interview. I've never seen him actively promoting stuff. And I think you need somebody who is a face and it is a voice, just like Kevin Feige is.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the talk of The Rock. People have been saying that he is really pushing for Black Adam to be like the focal point of the DCEU. He's like, this is what starts it all. And people have started to make the assumption, oh, well, a couple years ago, it was all about Black Adam. Now, ever since San Diego Comic-Con, it's always been about Black Adam, JSA, and the other characters. And he's starting to push out the other characters a little bit more. And people have seen the shift. And I don't think The Rock is really shaken by anything that was said at San Diego Comic-Con. He was booed off stage.
Really?
Yeah. So right after he made the comments about because somebody asked him about the, Superman.
Oh, was it the Henry Cavill comment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was more so, hey, when would Black Adam and Superman go, head to head? And he made the comments, oh, well, that all depends on who plays Superman. He didn't straight out say, oh, me and Henry are going to, duke it out or whatever.
Yeah.
He just said, oh, that all depends on who's playing Superman. And after that, people just booed and booed and booed. And then the question afterward was from Brandon Davis over at comicbook.com. And you could see Rock was trying to think about, okay, I need to say something that's a little bit more straightforward, but still vague. And
Mhm.
people were like, oh, we got him. He's shaken up now. Like, he didn't give us Henry. So, now he's fucked or whatever. He
Yeah.
doesn't care.
Yeah.
He's like, just look at his career. He's a wrestler. He knows how to get in front of a camera. He knows how to put on a show and everything else.
Yeah, boos are something that is not going to shake The Rock.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
he was one of the most hated people at one time.
But because of the way he has been promoting Black Adam,
Mhm.
people are now questioning, what if Zaslav has come to him and say, hey, since you are a face guy, you are somebody who likes to hype up the people, maybe you can be the studio head. This isn't confirmed. This is all rumors. This is
Yeah.
all fan speculation. But how would you feel about The Rock being the head of DC Studios as an executive producer?
I mean, for promo wise, I don't think there's anybody better than The Rock when it comes to promos. The Rock recently had a stupid promo at a Game Awards for like his drink or some shit. Like, he can promo anything, anywhere, at any time. Like, it's just the wrestler in him. He knows how to do a good promo. Now, I don't know. Like, The Rock isn't the greatest actor, but because he is The Rock, it just works, Like,
Yeah.
people are just like, fuck it, And I think Black Adam is probably the one character. He just needs to be badass enough, and people will and not do the Rockisms, and I think he'll be fine. His acting won't matter as long as Black Adam is beating the shit out of people and like being an anti-hero, he'll be fine. But I'm just worried about the Rockisms and the funny funnies. Like, I don't want that. And I think that's going to be my biggest worry going into that film. The man is too busy. Like, I don't think he can do that. He's probably got like 10 films with Chris Rock or whatever his name is. What's his name?
Oh, Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart. Fuck. Chris Rock's the guy that got slapped. I always forget. I'm just like, Chris Hart. They're all Chris's, His name's not even Chris. It's Kevin. But anyways, Kevin Hart, he's probably got like 10 films lined up with him. But he's just too busy, man. He's got like the XFL coming up. Like, he bought that. There are rumors that he wants to buy the WWE, which he doesn't have the money to do that. That's going to be billions of dollars.
Fuck.
But if The Rock were to buy the WWE, like, that's huge.
Yeah.
Because then somebody like Disney might come in and be like, we'll buy WWE with you. Like, are you going to be there? Are you going to be promoting this? Because Disney has a good relationship with him, So, I mean, that's something that could happen. And then he already likes the people that are there. He'll probably keep Triple H there. He'll be like, dude, you just keep running it. I'll come in every once in a while. I'll make a big appearance, blah, blah, blah. We'll make billions of dollars. Like, because even with Vince, even though it's been a shit show for the last 10 years or whatever, they're still making billions of dollars. So I just think he has too much. But then again, if you were someone who is trying to be the biggest, most global superstar ever, and be like, oh yeah, I could have a football franchise. I could have a wrestling franchise. I could have a comic book franchise. Maybe he is. I mean, he's been able to do shit that I'm just like, wow, I can't.
And he has met up with Kevin Feige, and people assume, oh, he's trying to get into the MCU.
Yeah.
But what if it was, hey, I really want to do this thing for the DC Studios. Do you have any advice for me?
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if Kevin Feige would actually give him advice or be like, oh, yeah, you should do this, this, and that, and to fuck it over,
Well, no, because I genuinely think, as much as people want to argue DC versus Marvel, one needs the other in order to stay successful.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, because I think every time people are getting tired of Marvel, DC comes out with something different, and they're like, oh, that was great. And then, because I know a lot of Marvel fans will hate it, but Civil War was only made because of BVS. And that has been confirmed by the directors. They said we needed something to compete with that. And so we made that. And so you might love the MCU, but they have copied DC before. Granted, DC crashed and burned, but still, they still copied them no matter what. And then, I mean, Marvel copying DC is not a new thing. Look at half of their characters. All copies of DC characters. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be interesting. I don't think it's going to happen, but I could see him being a mouthpiece for the company, I just hope we don't have a universe centered around him. Like, Did you see? I was trying to get blocked by what's his face this week again. I don't know if you noticed.
Liefeld, yeah, I saw you. Well, the thing is, I think he blocked me, so I was just seeing I just kept seeing the gray bar of like this Twitter user has his tweets
protected,
basically telling me that I couldn't see him.
Yeah, so
I was like,
you're blocked.
I was like, shit, I can't see what he's doing.
I have been blocked by him before, but since I deleted my Twitter and I have a new one, I have to get blocked again. For anybody who doesn't know, Liefeld is the Deadpool creator, and he's a dumbass, in my opinion. He says some of the most stupid shit all the time. And I think it's just because he's trying to stay relevant, you know?
Yep.
I think, if it wasn't for the Deadpool movie, nobody would know who Liefeld is anymore. Like in the new generation, right? Like the old school comic book fans will know who Liefeld is. But in the new generation, nobody would know who he is if Deadpool didn't have a movie, in my opinion. Yeah. Because he's just such an older creator, you know? And like people know him for the meme of he can't draw feet. Like that's the biggest thing. And having the worst Captain America drawing of all time. Like that's what people know him for. And so I think it's just kind of sad that he tries to hold on to relevance with a lot of the stuff he says. He was saying that Black Adam has never had any significance until The Rock showed up. And I was like, bro, shut up. Like, I'm not going to say he's ever been as big as Superman, but like he's had a presence if you've ever fucking read comics, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I just thought that was a stupid thing for him to say. But yeah, I don't know, man. I don't want him to be the center of the universe. I really hope that they can back up the money truck to Cavill and just make him the center of the universe. You know what I mean?
Well, there has been some grain of salt leaks recently that says Cavill has been seemingly confirmed for MCU.
Ooh, for what? Wolverine or what?
No, for his Superman counterpart at Marvel.
I don't know. Is that
so? It would be Hyperion.
Those guys.
And if you just Google Hyperion, it is like a mirror image, basically, of Superman. He is rumored, again, like I said, grain of salt confirmation rumor, for Loki season 2.
Oh, he'd be in a show? Lame. I think he's superstar movies caliber, you know?
Yeah, he is, but recently he's been on the small screen, Witcher, Enola Holmes, stuff like that with Netflix.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I wish I just wish like we would get some confirmation from him and somebody would ask him straight out, like, would you go back to Superman? You know what I mean? Because there's rumors that he said he's done, but I haven't heard that from him. And like there's interviews out there of him saying, like, I still have the cape, like I'm still ready to go. Like, so I want to know, like, once I hear it from him that he's like, no, I think that time has passed. And I'm like, okay, we're done. Like, let's fucking find somebody else, you know? But I hate the whole secrecy and all that kind of shit. But we'll see what happens. Maybe he's going to do a secret cameo and show up. You never know, right? He could. They're filming a bunch of shit right now. Like, they brought back Ben Affleck and had those people not got caught. Then we don't know. Maybe they are going to film something secret. Because all it is just having him show up, right? Like, you can go to his house and film that if you wanted to. Like, just like, duh, it's green screen. You just put him in there. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I hope he comes back, but I don't know, man. A DCEU without a Superman and a Batman is just a boring ass just reboot.
It's fucking weird. I have no idea. I'm still astounded by you thinking that we'll see something of this new DC by Comic-Con next year, but we'll see.
I don't think it's that hard to fucking, I mean, look, they've done it like 5 times already. It's not that hard to make one of those fucking Photoshop things with a bunch of logos. It's not that hard. That's why I say I think we'll see something by next Comic-Con. Because I think they're going to take this next year to plan it out, and then they're going to drop it. Since it seems like we're not getting fandom anymore, which kind of sucks, because that made everybody talk about DC for a whole weekend, which is huge. But I think they just don't want to cost. It was all green screen. I don't know how they don't, like, it shouldn't be that hard.
And then you have to like pay the hosts of everything and everybody else. Yeah.
So yeah, maybe they want to do that. Just make it part of somebody's contract, you know, like, hey, we need you to do this once a year, you know, like, and then we'll put you in a movie, you know, like, do some shit like that. Like, I think that's better than going the Weinstein route. Okay. That's all I'm saying. Like, hey, we need you to do this
Yeah.
stupid fucking thing we want to do every year. It's just a bonus, a part of your, you get movies. So yeah. What else do we got? What is this J.J. Abrams Avengers phase crap?
I put this in here because, of course, Zatanna, we kind of put her in the Batman verse because of her connections to Batman
Yeah.
and her father and the training that Bruce Wayne did to become Batman.
Yeah.
That's why I put this in here. So I legit thought J.J. Abrams was going to be done after Zaslav found out that he basically took $250 million and ran.
Yeah.
But the shows, with an S, shows, is still in development, and it's going to have an Avengers type of release. So they will have the character shows first, and then Justice League Dark will come out. So
it's going to be not necessarily Avengers, but more
Defenders.
Yeah. Okay. So just copying Netflix. That's fine. I'm curious at who is going to be who. You know what I mean? It really sucks that Homeboy is Bill Butcher right now. What's his name? Butcher? I think he would have been a great Constantine.
Carl Urban?
Yeah, Carl Urban, and I've still always wanted what's his face is playing Penguin, Colin Farrell. I think Colin Farrell would have been the perfect John Constantine.
But they have what's his name? That black guy.
I forget what movie he's in. I know they're going that route, but I still think those two would have been perfect. Like, honestly, the dude that plays him on CW is fantastic.
Matt, well, I don't think you've caught up. I didn't watch today's episode, but I did watch the past 2 episodes. Matt Ryan reprised his role as Constantine in Harley Quinn.
Nice. Yeah, I know he does all the animated stuff, but like, dude, just bring him up to the movies. Like, he's good. I don't know why. Just give him that big budget, but they're going the different route, and I'm just like, all right, cool, whatever. I just hope as long as the actor's good, that's all that really matters to me. Are they British? I wonder if they're British. Because I don't want to hear an American doing a British accent because it always fails.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I'm still curious. I want the same like stunt double Swamp Thing from the show. I want him to come back. And I'm still curious as of who's gonna be Zatanna.
Yeah, rumors are Dia Lupa or whatever. Apparently she's been in films before, I think. So she knows how to dance. I would be curious if they're going to give her the classic outfit. Again, also the same thing too is, there are rumors out there, depending on who you want to believe, that that Zaslav is tired of the woke stuff going on at WB. So, I mean, are they gonna be like, hey, this is the outfits we want to use for these characters? Like, this is what you're gonna do or whatever. Like, I wonder if that's gonna change, I found myself on fucking right-wing comic book websites recently. I did not know, like, what is it? Is it bounding into comics or bleeding something?
Well,
or
there's bound
like right-leaning.
There's bound into comics and there's bleeding cool.
Yeah. Well, I think it's called like Bleeding Fool. It's a parody, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I was like,
that's
the fuck?
Hilarious.
And the reason why is because I saw some article about some dude that quit DC a colorist that quit DC because they're too woke. And I don't want to work there anymore because they're ruining the characters. And I was like, okay, cool. I think he works for the Comicsgate people now. So I don't know how I got on that, but I was just like, it's because somebody is trying to keep them from going to Comic-Con. That's why. And I still like to look into this stuff to see why they don't, I try to stay away from Comicsgate nowadays because it is very right-wing. We know we have some people that have said it didn't start out that way, but it's what it's devolved into, unfortunately. So I don't remember what it started out for, but it's pretty bad. But anyways, I was reading some of this shit and I was just like, I think I'm on the wrong side of where I want to be. Because I don't mind people criticizing stuff, but like when you use the buzzwords of woke and like all of this shit, you're on a certain side. You know what I mean?
You felt like you were at your old job again?
Yes. Oh my God. And it's funny too, because like Yes, I might lean more towards to the left, but I'm totally cool with talking to people and discussing shit. But God, I hate the buzzword shit, man. Like and it's from both sides. I hate it on both sides. Like we know far left people are like Nazi, all this shit. I'm like, chill out. Like, let's calm down. But yeah, I don't know. I was just like, where am I? Like, I was just like, holy fuck.
This is not where I parked my car.
Yeah, I was all, let me clear my browser history because I don't need this to be recommended to me from now on. But yeah, I thought it was random to just follow. I think I got there from CBR though. I think CBR like was making it was commenting on that, and then I clicked on some links and it took me there, and I was like, holy fuck. So pretty wild stuff, random. That's how the internet works, ladies and gentlemen. There's pipelines for everything. So pretty crazy shit. Let's go. What else do we got now? Speaking of gates, what is Batmangate?
So we had this shared in the Discord before, and you were kind of excited about it. But honestly, I don't think it has any legs.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this individual that is claiming that Matt Reeves stole all of his work.
Yeah.
His idea for a Batman comic is that Reeves had Batman at the beginning of his career, while this guy, I can't even remember his name, had Batman at the end of his career. He's like, you see the similarities? It's the beginning and mine's at the end. And there's some of the plot points are almost exactly the same. And he's like gone out to say like, hey, all of this can go away for $4 million.
God damn.
And I'm just like, you can't just like, oh, plagiarism, $4 million right now. Give it to me. And then I won't pursue anything. And then like, of course, a lot of the Snyder cultists are like, oh yeah, this totally makes sense, man. They're going to cancel Batman 2. We're going to get Ben Affleck's movie again. And it's going to be fucking awesome. Restore the Snyderverse. And I'm just like, even if this was true, if anything, it would delay Batman for a little bit. Hear this thing out. And if there's even an inkling of it, then they would be like, hey, not cool. You know, there's repercussions for this.
Yeah.
Batman 2 would probably be completely rewritten and pushed on to somebody else.
Yeah,
because
would write the script.
And then WBD would be like, hey, Matt, I'm sorry. I know this is your baby and your trilogy, but you plagiarized. Now somebody else is going to have your baby.
Yeah.
Like,
he wouldn't be able to continue. Like, if it was genuinely proven, that is something that cannot be continued. Like, he wouldn't be able to direct anymore. Because at this point, one, he was very adamant of like, I'm not going to do what y'all guys tell me. Like, I'm going to do my story.
Exactly.
So, of course, if somebody took him writing away from him, he wouldn't continue. So, is that why you're saying I was getting excited for it? Because I was like, why did I get excited for this? Because I just said I wish they would cancel part 2.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Dude, if somebody right now gave me a blue button and a red button and was like, the red button is the Batman 2 and the blue button is Ben Affleck's Raid type movie that was recommended, I'd hit that blue button so fast. Like, if one of them got like nuked from existence, I'm going blue button real quick. Because that movie sounds awesome. Yeah. And that's what I want, you know? You know, warehouse scene throughout the fucking whole movie almost. Goddamn. Fighting a bunch of shit. Like, I also want to see a Batman where his outfit gets destroyed over time. Like, you know?
Yeah, and that is, you're needing a cloth type of cowl.
Yeah.
And I know that Pattinson's is kind of like leathery and stuff.
Yeah.
But that material won't be able to rip like it would how we are wanting the Batman costume to be in a movie.
Yeah, I need one of these like hardcore pro gun YouTube channels to get their hands on some C4, get that Batman outfit, put it right next to his face and explode the C4 and see what actually happens. Because it'll shut me up if they get it and it's still perfect. Like, they're like, hey man, this is actually really good. I'm like, well, fuck, I'll shut the fuck up. But if his head's blown off and the mask is torn, then I can be like, yeah, look at that. Come on, that's a good YouTube video. You're getting the Batman in the title, you're getting C4 and explosions. Like, well, who else? That's a fucking viral video right there. So if you guys can get your hands on some C4 and a Batman costume, perfect YouTube video for you right there.
Don't wear the costume, guys.
Yeah, don't. Yeah, it should be on a dummy. If I need to clear that, go buy one of those. Dumb. If you want to also make it MythBusters, where they buy those little devices where they show the person would die if it was that. Do that. I don't think you need those. I think we pretty much know what would happen. But I'm just saying to test that bat suit.
No, but this whole thing with Batmangate, I think the reason why I wanted to talk about it, it's the same thing that you were saying with this whole thing of like, oh, the minute you dislike something, you just like fucking just go all in and everybody's savage towards it.
Yeah.
And I find it really weird that like we didn't love the movie. No. We very much had our opinions on it.
Yeah.
And we said, hey, the first 15 minutes of the movie was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But it went downhill from there. I just think that this whole thing with the gates and everything, Batmangate, Comic Gate, I'm just like, I'm fucking done with it, dude. It's just so tiresome.
Yeah.
And honestly, again, we'll say it until we're blue in the face. I just want a comic book, somewhat accurate Batman on screen.
Yeah. I feel you on all the honestly, if I didn't have to be on the internet and we could run this podcast and I could run YouTube and everything would be successful without social media, I wouldn't have social media. But unfortunately you need it in this day and age to do that. I have TikTok, but it's no longer on my phone. So if I upload a video, I'm uploading it from the browser and I'm instantly getting off because I'm just like, I'm done. Because it's like, even me, I think we agree that we're pretty progressive people and we want people to feel like, we care about mental health, we care about all that stuff. But just even the people that overreach on that shit, I'm just like, come on, man. Like, you can't even like Dave Chappelle anymore. You know what I mean? It's like, if you ever thought Dave Chappelle was funny, you're a shit person. And I'm like, well, I'm a shit person because that shit was funny. You know what I mean? And it sucks. Like, you can't be supportive or you can't just like be in the middle anymore. And I'm just like, ugh. So even me, I get kind of tired of everything. But it's funny because even though I say that, they're like, yeah, you know what you should do? You should listen to Rogan and fucking Ben Shapiro. I'm like, bro, chill. Just because I'm not agreeing on one side doesn't mean I'm trying to go down that fucking pipeline right now, okay? But yeah, like it's the internet just sucks sometimes, man. I just want to game and have fun, like, it just kind of sucks. But the funny thing is, this actually brings me to the most perfect thing, since we are talking about things we don't like and why I'm just it sucks talking about anything fun on the internet, is because obviously people are going to just hate it to hate it, right? Did you go, you probably avoid the spoiler chat, right? Did I talk about this in spoiler chat in Discord? Did you see the thing about the Stranger Things plot holes? Did you?
No.
Okay. So I read a CBR article. I'm trying to check if I actually posted this in the main thing or if I posted it in spoiler chat. I think I posted it in spoiler chat. So I'm not going to do any spoilers for Stranger Things, but there's this one moment, and I believe it's in the trailers. So,
the whole bullying thing.
Yes. Okay. I tweeted about this. So anybody that follows me on Twitter heard about this. I read an article, and this comes from CBR again. I read CBR because this is the general audience and what people think, right? So I try to get that gauge of the audience, the people in the middle mostly. And they had an article talking about how the bullying scene in Stranger Things is a plot hole because it's not realistic. And I'm like, what? They were like, yeah, it's not. They don't live in a small town. They live in a bigger city. So how would all of these people from L's school be at this rolling rink at the same time? I'm like, have you not lived before? I live in a big city, and we even had a place that everybody went to every Friday night. Like ours was the movie theater. Like everybody from school was at the movie theater on Friday night when I was growing up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if it wasn't the movie theater, it was the mall, right?
Yeah.
That's what we were doing. And it's just like, what do you mean? Like, it's the hit thing to do. And remember, this is in the 80s, so there's not that much more other shit to be going on. You know what I mean? So it blew my mind. And then I went and I read their plot hole shit, and their plot hole shit was like, how did this character not die? And I'm like, are you serious? Like, are you really? Like, you know what I mean? We hate the C4 thing in the Batman. I don't think that's a plot hole though, because Batman didn't die. I just thought it was stupid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not a plot hole to the movie. I would not write an article saying that, well, technically, Batman survived a C4 to the face, so that is the biggest plot hole in the movie. No, I just thought it was stupid. I know how to disband belief for a little bit. And like, that's the worst thing about when it comes to talking about shit like this, man. There are people that take it way too far, you know? We like to go in depth, but we admit when we're being picky, right?
Yeah.
Like with some of the stuff, with like, I'll let shit with Tom King slide, right? Like when we had the discussion about getting shot in the head, like that was one of the biggest things we disagreed on. And I was like, it's happened in real life. People have gotten shit, shot in the head, blah, blah. It's also comic books, blah, blah, blah. You don't have to explain everything. But it just blows my mind reading shit like that, because it's those type of articles I feel like people read, because again, this is a general audience, and they just go with it. So now that is their mentality when they watch movies and like comic books and all this kind of shit. And they're like, that's not believable. Like, well, no fucking shit. You can also like teleport and do all this other stuff in the show, but you're cool with that. But because a bullying scene is not realistic, you think it's a plot hole? Like, blows my mind, bro. Blows my mind. So yeah, I don't know. That's just something that drove me up a wall this week. Like, because a lot of people do that. Like, I've noticed that so much on the internet that people complain. But it also goes the other way, right? I think people will go to the ends of the earth to try to make something that is a plot hole okay. So, like, something very obvious. Like, I brought up so many in Gotham, and people fought me tooth and nail for that. And I'm like, all right, guys, whatever. But yeah, I just thought that was something very interesting that was going on this week. Okay, what else do we got that we have not talked about in this?
So let me go back to Batman News Weekly because I went to the spoiler.
Yeah.
So we did Batmangate. The next thing would be, since Ezra is going to be our big thing, let's go ahead and just real quick, Gotham Knights has officially gone gold. I think this is one of their like either.
What does that mean? They got enough pre-orders or what?
I guess so. It just said Gotham's gotten gold. I am actually looking at their Discord now. It says, oh, this is all in French. That doesn't help me anything, guys. Translate. It says here, the entire Gotham Knights team is proud to announce that we are officially gold, meaning, hey, the game is finished. See you in October. The whole Gotham Knights team is proud to announce. Yeah. So it has officially been finished. The game is officially coming out October 25th of this year.
That's right when your baby's being born, isn't it?
No, it's a few weeks after. And like I'm taking
you're lucky.
I'm taking a whole break from podcasting other than this one because we're so close to each other for everything else. So I was like, oh man, if it's going to come out in October, like beginning of October, I'm going to have the entire month just to like relax, be with the baby, play Gotham Knights. It's going to be fun. And then like I'm going to be having to come back right when this game comes out. I'm like, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
So I think I might take a whole nother month off from other podcasting stuff just so I can play this game a little bit more.
Has your other podcast ever come back? The one with
No. So with Comic Book Legion, no. He just got way too busy and we just weren't able to do it.
Yeah. Is it just like Dunzo now?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. That's fair. Y'all had a pretty big audience though, right?
Yeah.
Pretty crazy. Hey, that's what happens to podcast and YouTube channels. So pretty crazy stuff. So that's cool. That's coming out. I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I'm not super hyped for it. I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna buy it, but I'm not like super hyped. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, I think if anything, I will pre-order it the week before.
Yeah.
And just get like the basic digital version so I can get that one little motorcycle thing. I don't know if I'm gonna go completely all out and get like the digital deluxe.
Yeah.
And get like and spend an extra like $15 to $20 on it. I think I'll just go minimum and see how it runs.
I think I'm gonna buy the minimum and we'll go from there because like I don't know, I want to play it, but I'm not super hyped. I'm very curious about what the Rocksteady one's gonna be now because
so today, as like when we just started recording, they came out with an IGN video that does show how skill trees work. So I might watch that after we
Okay.
are finished recording this.
Interesting. Yeah, I have so many story games I still need to play that I haven't done. I just got the Final Fantasy one for free for the monthly PlayStation thing, Interlude or whatever. I haven't even got to play that yet. So I don't even remember. The thing that sucks is I probably already forgot how to play Final Fantasy, like what works, the elixirs and all that bullshit. Because I played that whole game all the way till the end without knowing how to use all that stuff. So like it was way harder than it was supposed to be. But yeah, that's just how I do. I just dive into stuff. So I'm excited to do that. But before we dive into our main topic of the whole podcast, there was something that came out yesterday that I just rolled my eyes at so hard, because not only have we been getting a bunch of Batman books, not only have we been getting a bunch of Joker books, but they thought it's not enough. We need a Joker Batman team up book. And that is what we're getting later this year. That is called what? The Deadly Duo. And Batman and Joker are going to be on a team for some reason.
Yeah, it's going to be coming out from Mark Silvestri. If people don't know, Silvestri is a well-known inker that usually works with Jim Lee.
Oh, okay.
Or is it an inker or a colorist? I can't remember. But
I bought his Batcat when he was here in our city. That Batcat in the rain where they're kissing.
Oh no, that's not Silvestri. That was.
I thought he's the inker. Or see no, because Jim Lee's the penciler.
Yeah. So, oh shit.
They work as a team. Jim Lee only works with two other people. It's the inker and the colorist.
Yeah, it's the person that was here in town when you got that Batcat.
Yeah.
And
it's
then
like
Silvestri.
Yeah.
So let's look. Mark Silvestri.
I'm terrible with names when it comes to comic books, so I cannot really help here. But I just know that I have that thing somewhere, and I need to get it framed. So
Mark Silvestri is actually CEO of Image Comics right now.
Oh,
but he is a comic book artist.
Okay, so it's not the one that works for Jim Lee.
No, he was.
Was it older? It's not part of the new team.
I am pretty sure if you look at your Batman Damned Jim Lee cover, because I think you got the Jim Lee cover, didn't you?
Yeah, I think so.
You'll see Silvestri's signature on there.
I'll have to check after this. I have that buried somewhere.
Yeah.
So, interesting. So, yeah, Batman, Joker, team up, don't care.
Well, no, because they made it sound like, oh, this has never happened before, and look at this crazy duo, finally teaming up. And I'm just like, finally teaming up? They teamed up like 2 years ago.
Yeah. That
and
was
before
like
that,
the big
they
thing.
teamed up 4 years ago.
Yeah, they've teamed up in a Jim Lee book. Like, It was Batman Europa. Like, they were both dying, and they both needed to find Bane or some shit like that. Like, that was a decent story too. But yeah, I don't know, man. That's what DC's been doing a lot of lately, is just rehashing the same shit. Like, it's like they talked to Chip Zdarsky and they were like, hey, what can we do to make better stories? He's like, hey, if you just retell the same story and use the same shit, people will like it. Because that's the Chip Zdarsky mentality. But yeah, like, I don't know, man. It's not something we're gonna read it. Where it's what we do on this podcast. And I think it's only 2 issues, but still, like, it's got to be. Tom King actually talked about it this week. Somebody commented on, like, I forgot what he said exactly. I'm pretty sure I posted it in the Discord, but he mentioned the whole thing. Okay, right here. Somebody said it was they were talking about, like, okay, wouldn't say Batman makes up everything at DC, but it is a big chunk alongside Superman, Justice League, and Wonder Woman. Hate to sound fanboy, but almost anything else, unless it has big time team ups or major promos, usually falls by the wayside. Which Tom King replied, I hear you. Batman is awesome and sells, so there's going to be a lot of Batman, including by me. But this year, I'll have a bunch of books starring Human Target, Ice, Sam Bradley, the Dingbats of Danger Street, Lady Cop, Creeper, Orion, and more to be announced. So even like people like Tom King and big artists know that only Batman is the shit that's selling. Do you think this is it can only fall on consumers, right?
Yes. Like
Yeah.
people who are claiming, oh, you need to buy more than just Batman books.
Yeah.
A lot of those people are not backing up what they are saying.
Yeah.
They're just telling people, buy more books that aren't Batman.
Yeah.
And they're not going out to buy books that aren't Batman.
Yeah. I don't even buy Batman books anymore. Like,
Yeah.
I'm doing my part. I'm not buying them. I haven't been buying the main run since before Joker War. Like,
Yeah.
I might have stopped. I stopped at some point during Tynion's run. I was like, I don't want this anymore. Maybe I stopped at 100. I could be wrong. I'd have to check. But I don't care about those books. Like, they're in my pile to, like, get rid of. Like, I don't care about those.
It sounds, because I feel like I remember you had said, I'm not very invested in what this Joker War will be, but I'll probably stop so I can have a full 100 issues.
Yeah, I think that might have been it. And I don't even think we haven't even talked about that, so we'll be going into that as well because we have stuff about Tynion as well. But yeah, I just found it very interesting. So like if you are somebody that is on the boat of I'm tired of Batman and I'm tired of Joker, but you're buying those books, you're not helping the cause. Like just throwing that out there. Now, the thing that sucks is that could be a double-edged sword because if people just stop buying the Batman books and they don't start buying other books, DC might be like, well, this whole ship is sinking, so maybe we should just get rid of this. So kind of sucks, you know? I understand why they throw Batman on everything, but I think people do need to go out and try to buy other books. But I also think DC needs to change the way they approach things, you know? I think we need to start getting like mini series, but that just come out as books, like a good Blue Beetle series, a good like Wonder Woman series, a good something like that. Just 6 issues that comes out as a graphic novel because then you can sell the graphic novel. Because it's also, I think a lot of people don't like buying loose leaf comics. They rather have a book that you can throw on a table, that you can put in a bookshelf, something like that. Loose leaf comics are the fucking worst thing to store. I'm sorry if you love them. They're terrible to store. I hate it. They're hard to find. Like you have to be very organized and be like, this box has this number. Yeah, Clay's got a fucking shitload in there. But can you tell me what's in every one by just looking at them?
Not anymore.
Yeah, exactly. But I can tell what you have on your shelves because I see the bind. You know, I see it. I can come over here to all my books and be like, yeah, there's that. I can get the one I need. Bada bing, bada boom. And I think DC needs to go more towards that for brand new stories. You know, if they want to sell them digitally to try to get a little bit more money, cool. That's fine. Because then that way people can buy like a $3 book for the first issue digitally. And they're like, I don't really like the story. And they don't have to spend the $30 on the bind book, right?
Yeah.
But I think some people will go to a comic shop and just be like, bam, bam. Like, wasn't that some of the biggest sellers that when you were working? Like,
graphic novels is a big thing, especially like if there's a new relaunch, people want to catch up.
Yeah.
So they go and they'll buy 3 volumes at once.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the whole thing with Invincible when that came out.
Yeah.
Every comic shop everywhere that I was looking into, the full collections were being sold out like crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I think it's just a better thing because it's also like coffee table books, you know? You just throw them on your coffee table. They look nice, you know, because believe it or not, there's a lot of nerds out there that like a place to look nice and then just still have touch of being a nerd everywhere, you know? And I think that's the best thing. But I don't know. I feel like this podcast has been all over the place, but, you know, that's just kind of DC Comics right now. So it fits. So there is a going to Tynion. Let's just dive into that because that was something we found out from Raphael posted this. Was it like an article or was it like somebody talking about just the timeline of Batman recently? I feel like that's what it was, right?
So the way that they had described it, Raphael, was saying that it was, excuse me, a thing having to do with
Did they post that in the Batman News Weekly Discord?
Yeah, it was Batman News Weekly.
Yeah, here we go. So yeah, they posted the first link they posted was called Batman's Swallowing His Own Cape, the modern Cape Crusader narrative, is what the thing was called. And it goes through a bunch of different, like the last few artists or writers that have dealt with Batman, right? And it has this whole thing on King. It talks about how some people hated it and some people loved it and blah, blah, blah. But the biggest thing that stood out to me in this whole section was this little quote right here. Batman's next writer, James Tynion IV, noted in his newsletter that DC editorial immediately mandated that they undo the newly stabilized relationship of Bruce and Selina Kyle, arguably the central development of Tom King's tenure. So we, speculated this, but we never got confirmation. Now, I still want to say we haven't got confirmation because we're not subscribed to Tynion's newsletter. I wanted proof, but all I got was Raphael sent like another article of somebody that summarizes Tynion's newsletters. So I have not seen this from Tynion himself. So this could be taken out of context. It could be different. But we're going to, just for the sake of conversation, say that this is factual. What do you think about that? How does it make you look at DC now?
What we had already assumed this was all going to happen, right? And the thing is, when Dan Didio was being released from DC and all the things we were hearing from Tom King, he told the story of a drunk Dan being like, hey, I know you're writing that Superman book and I have no idea what's going to happen to that girl. If you want to kill the little girl, that's totally fine.
That's my favorite story, dude. That story's great.
We saw that Dan was true to his idea of the writers at DC was like, hey, I invest in veteran writers. I get what they want, and we try to make it happen within our tenure through DC Comics. I understand that. But we also understood this very stupid narrative of, oh, well, Batman is the dark and brooding. If he has something to live for, if he's happy, he's no longer going to be dark and brooding, meaning he's no longer Batman. And that is the most dumbest shit I have ever heard in my life. Ever.
There is a lot of fans that believe that, though, which is unfortunate.
It's like, why?
So they say the reason why, he needs to have issues in his life is because it makes him go even further beyond. And it's like his Super Saiyan power. That's what keeps him
I was going to say, is
going.
he Super Saiyan 3?
Yeah, I guess. So, I don't know, man. I mean, obviously we don't agree with that. We think it's stupid. We've had 80 years of that. So I
just think that characters need to develop. They need to evolve. And take it from a guy who has been married for now almost 6 years, been in a relationship for nearly 8. It's already August, for 8 years. Marriage brings challenges.
Yeah.
So for a superhero, I think it would bring even more challenge.
Yeah.
And I think you could still get the dark and brooding, but he would then have because again, if you wanted to have a dark, brooding Batman, you would get rid of the entire Bat family.
Yeah.
But people don't want
Chip Zdarsky, the way he talks, but
but the thing is,
my mama.
It's the hypocrisy of fans. You want to have dark and brooding Batman, get rid of all of the Bat family. No, but we love Dick Grayson. No, we want Tim Drake. No, we need Cassandra. Oh, no, I want Stephanie. Well, those bring joy to the Bat family. And joy is not something that you want for Batman. Now, if it is something you want for Batman, he should be able to get married.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, because there could still be conflicts there,
Yes.
You could also still have them be married and then, Batman learns about a deep, dark secret from Selina Kyle. You know what I mean? If you want to play the, will they break up? You could, I would hate that because it's so fucking cheesy, but they could still be together at the end and be like, look, I don't care about your past. It sucks that it's coming back.
Not only that, but then you have you have the disagreements of like, okay, like what we saw through Tom King's book, and you know, a small little spoiler alert, we see a little bit of it here in Teenie Howard's book this week,
Mm-hmm.
of like the confrontation of, you know, just old habits of Selena
Yeah.
being like, hey, you know, I'm needing to do this because it's jewelry, or hey, I'm wanting to do this to help the alley kids and
Yeah.
everything else. And I did not believe you when you made that wild fucking statement of, oh yeah, Teenie Howard's a much better writer than Chip because
Mm-hmm.
of Catwoman 46.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
She is, right?
Holy shit.
Yes. She like the way she writes is I hate what she's doing, but because she's tearing me apart. I'm like, you're fucking like you're on the edge and I hate it, but she's bringing that emotion out.
Yes.
Like, are you going to do it or not? Like, that's what I need to know. Chip's already pissed me off. Like, I do not give a shit about his story. He's been pissing me off since he did that stupid smile story. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think anything he does, but Howard, we gave up on Howard and now I'm back. And I'm just like, that's a good writer, whether you like to say it or not. Like, granted, the Harley Quinn stuff is just because I don't think she knows how to write Harley Quinn. A lot of people
True.
don't. And so, like, what she's doing here, I'm just like, I hate you, Howard. I hate what you're doing, but you have me wanting to read the next issue because I need to know. Yeah. And so, yeah, I think she's a better writer. And people are going to hate that when we say this on this podcast. Like, oh, Howard destroyed X-Men or whatever the fuck she did at Marvel. I don't know what she did at Marvel. And I know people hate her for that.
But the thing is, and we'll get more into it when we cover Catwoman 46, there are aspects to the Bat-Cat relationship that she brings in the very opening pages of 46 that make total sense. Now, I do kind of, it's like a nitpick here or there in the sense of like, oh, they could figure it out this way. But again, it makes sense for the Catwoman character.
Yes.
And for the Bat-Cat relationship, for it to be challenging, for it to be something that we as readers can relate to, everybody has relationship problems.
Yeah.
Like everybody has had that really awkward relationship situation of moving in. Okay, you want most of your stuff, I want most of my stuff. Like, how is this relationship going to work out? Hey, things get rocky. Like, I want to see that with Batman because, like, for one, Batman can easily go out, beat up criminals, be the superhero, and be done with it.
Yeah.
But we've already seen the struggle of being outside of the cape due to society. How is he going to do that for a lover?
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen Batman do so many things, but I haven't seen him be a family man with a stable partner. You know what I mean? And the thing is, the one thing that I was super excited about for the wedding and everything to happen was those issues leading up to the wedding that were written by Tim Seeley. And they had that one moment between Damian and Selena where he was like, I don't have to call you mom, do I? And she's like, no, you don't need to do that for now. But you and I, we're different than these goody goodies. You know what I mean? Like they had their own little connection. I wanted to see Selena make that connection with everybody else. You know what I mean? And I wanted to see her be a mother to them, you know, because she didn't have good parents. So you could go down this road of Selena being a mother figure to these Bat family kids. Like, and there's so many more avenues to go down that you could do. Having Catwoman team up with some of the Bat family that are not Batman, you know, she goes to save Damian or Damian goes to save her or Nightwing or blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like,
you know, the big thing that we wanted was from the Damian and Catwoman thing.
Yeah.
And like there be a moment of Damian coming to save Catwoman and be like, get your hands off my mom.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit.
Built in, right? Like, I don't want to call you mom. That's like the biggest thing. But the moment he does it, it ascends his character. Like it ascends him to be so much better. You know what I mean? Like he accepts her as his mother. That's fucking great.
And the thing is with Teenie Howard, we got inklings of that last issue in this moment of Catwoman saying, oh, Dick, like I'm your almost stepmom.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're right there. You're right fucking there.
Yeah.
Like, just like just you got to lean one
Yeah.
way or the other, and I hate that you're walking on this fine line so fucking much.
Yeah, and it sucks. I just think there's so much more you can do if you solidify that. You want to know the one story I really want to be told, and it's not going to happen because I think people are going to think it's boring. I want to see how Selina Kyle and Bruce Wayne live in the world together. Because all the media outlets would be like, she's a known thief. How do you marry a known thief, Bruce Wayne? Like, and how do you navigate that story? That's what I want to see. Because it's different. Like, how do you make that work? We have had Batman and Bruce Wayne be in the same place at the same time when he's accused of shit, and he's been able to solve that. How does he solve the universe talking about? Because you know what? The first thing all the media and gossip places are going to be like, she's a gold digger. She's just trying to steal all his millions and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? And then
you would also get the people like, well, she's a known thief as Catwoman. Catwoman was seen with Batman. Is Bruce Wayne the Batman?
Yeah.
And then like we would get on that trick again. Yeah. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but at least you're playing along with it, you know?
Yeah. Because my favorite thing is when the media is involved in stories. I love it. It is so good because they're a part of Gotham. Like, that is how everybody's like, I want Gotham to be a part of my story. Gotham is such a big thing in my story. They never do it right. Like, they never do it right. Like, Gotham is the citizens. Gotham is the news. Gotham is the criminals. But it always goes into being like fucking Fear State or some shit like that. Like, the best person that's doing Gotham right now is Neo Year. They're the best thing that's doing Gotham right now. But it's because Gotham is actually a character now, which is crazy. But other than that, you have to write Gotham as a living, breathing city, and what that is the people. So bringing this back to Tynion, does this, now that we know, if this is factual, that he was forced to do this, does it change your thoughts on his run at all?
No, because I think what you can do because what's the thing you always say? If you're a good writer.
Yeah, like it's called creative writing for a reason.
Exactly. I think that you could break them up without breaking them up.
Yeah.
You know? And still leaving it to a point where, hey, this is salvageable. And people could say, oh, well, they're on a break for a year or whatever. Yeah. Time does not work the exact same way that time works here in the real world versus comics. A year after that issue came out has already gone and passed. So why aren't they back together?
Maybe
exactly. Like you always say time is timey-wimey and all of this stuff in comics. So nobody really knows how long it's been for anything else.
Yeah.
And I think that you could like publicly, quote unquote, say, hey, we're done, but still have the secret love affair or something like that, you know?
Yeah, because that's something you could definitely do for sure. But like, I don't know, man. I want to see, have we had a story? I think probably like Heart of Hush is probably the most like Batman getting revenge for Catwoman story that's out there, because Hush literally steals her heart. So he's like Batman's like searching for Hush. But like, I want to see those kind of stories where Selina is in trouble and Batman goes to save her, or vice versa, right? Like Batman is in a bad spot and Selina saves him. Like, I want to see that kind of shit, because you can't really have that story with like Lois and Superman, right? Like, it's gonna be very rare that Lois, unless she had to get fucking Batman's crazy ass suit to save Superman one time, right? Or whatever. But so you rarely get that. But when you have two heroes, or one's an anti-hero, one's a hero, on the same level in ability, then they're interchangeable with who can save who, you know? And so like, I would like to see something like that. But I don't know. It doesn't change my opinion on Tynion's run anyways. We also learned previously that it seemed like he was writing that shit week to week because he didn't have a contract. Yeah. It was the rumor, right? So it doesn't take away just because, all it does is confirm that DC still has a stupid mentality when it comes to Batman.
Yep.
And it's unfortunate because that is their biggest seller. And I don't understand why. Like, you already, like, if we're still in this universe, we don't know what's going to happen with Dark Crisis on 50 multiverses or whatever the new title is. You could have just had a Batcat timeline and a non-Batcat timeline. Fuck it at this point. Like, you know, this is Batman Loner for all of you people that like this, but all of you people that love Batcat, we're just going to continue throwing it out there. And if they were like, hey, Tom King, do you want to just keep writing this? Like, people like it. Like, you can just drop 6 issues every year or something, you know? It doesn't even need to be monthly. It could be bi-monthly or whatever. I mean, look at how we're still waiting for that Catwoman book. Make it quarterly.
Yeah.
I don't care. Yeah. You know, have a Batcat quarterly book and just tell stories. Like, I don't think you need to... I don't know, man. I feel like comic book companies make comic booking too hard. And I think it could be a lot simpler. So, I don't know. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to our final main topic of the podcast. And that is the Ezra Miller Apology. Now, was it already last week that we were talking about the 3 options?
Yes. So the options were, number 1, he apologizes.
Yeah.
To
and
the
goes
masses.
to rehab.
Exactly. 2 was that they do a press junket for the film without Ezra Miller. And 3 would be to just can the movie altogether.
Yeah.
And it was also that week that we had heard that Zaslav was in a screaming match with everybody inside of his like board of directors.
Yeah.
It was everyone against him on shelving this movie. He did not want to shelve the movie. He wanted to keep it going. And it seems like they went with option 1.
Yeah. Also, in that meeting, apparently the reason why he doesn't want to shelve it is because he doesn't believe in Aquaman.
Yeah. Which is fucking wild.
Which I'm very interested because Jason Momoa came out and said that Aquaman 2 is going to be a lot funnier. And I don't like that. Aquaman 1 had the perfect amount of humor, in my opinion. So I hope it's not Marvel level funny ha-has.
I'm not going to say that it's not going to be, because I will say this: when it comes to the DCEU and MCU differences and similarities, Flash and Aquaman were kind of like in the direction of MCU.
Yeah.
So,
but as long as the serious parts are serious, I don't care.
Yeah.
So I don't need Aquaman killing somebody and then a fucking meteor coming out of nowhere and hitting him. You know what I mean? I don't need that.
Talking to you, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, but I also don't want him to look like a dumbass, which is Thor 3.
Yeah.
That's my biggest thing. He just, as long as he keeps the same character he's had from the Justice League movies and the first, mainly the first movie, whatever that felt like is what he should be in part 2. But if he's more dumb and he's trying to be fucking Thor, then it's just going to be an awful movie. So we'll see. So yes, Ezra Miller has come out and apologized and essentially said like, hey, I'm sorry for my crazy behavior recently. I'm going through some personal stuff and I need mental health, blah, blah, blah. And I am going to be getting help in a facility or whatever. That's essentially what he said. And that's it. That's literally all he said. I mentioned it on this podcast multiple times already. This movie was not going to get canceled unless he killed somebody. I had somebody, I posted this on Twitter. I got into this little thing to where somebody I follow said they were not going to have the conversation with me anymore because of the way I was talking about this situation. So let me go ahead and bring this up real quick because I was talking about how so there was somebody, you know the meme right now that's going around of Riddler saying no, and it's Batman. So they were like, Ezra Miller from prison when the Flash flops. And I quote tweeted that. I was like, the Flash ain't gonna flop. It has like 3 different Batman in it. Like, there's just no way. And so somebody hit me up. They're like, Flash is flopping, and I'm so here for it. And I'm like, I was like, nah, just because Twitter complains about the movie doesn't mean it'll fail. Twitter's rage isn't real, and the GA is going to watch anything that has Batman in it. They were like, bro, Ezra Miller is a fucking menace. And I was and I think this is what probably upset them, because if you just read it word for word without like kind of just thinking about it, you're going to get upset. I was like, when has that stopped Hollywood from releasing a movie before? all Ezra needs to do is go to rehab and then cry about being abused or something. And then Hollywood would be like, it's okay because money makes the world go round, right? They responded, laughing my ass off, I'm not having this convo. That is an incredibly weird take. Ezra has committed several crimes and kidnapped someone. That is not just something you brush off like an under-the-rug affair. And that's when they stopped responding to me. But they didn't bother to read my last thing because I had a feeling that they probably thought I was like an Ezra Miller apologist. And like anything he did would, obviously you missed all the videos I made on the guy. But I put, first off, I'm not condoning what he did if that's what you think. I'm just being real with you. Hollywood is filled with pedos, rapists, con artists, etc. And you think that they won't let Ezra pass? That's just delusional. I was like, they gave a man an Oscar when he was accused of SA, which is it's not Ben Affleck's brother. It's one of a popular guy. I forget what his name is, but he's got a popular brother as well. Damon? No.
I think it was Affleck's brother.
Is it Casey Affleck? Is that his name? Yeah, maybe it was. So yeah, he was accused of sexual assault while his movie was being done for an Oscar, and he won. So Hollywood lets a lot of shit slide. Like, people need to remember that. So thinking that just because Ezra's out here being crazy doesn't mean that they're just gonna not make this film come out. Like, you got to remember there's investors in this, man. Like, they're not going to just be like, so you're just going to dump my millions of dollars that I put into this movie because some guy's being crazy? No, I expect to get money out of this, you know? People don't give a shit about art. Like, y'all guys need to realize this. Like, a lot of people that are investing in these movies are not like, oh, I want to just really support the arts. They're like, no, I want to make money. Like, the fuck? Like, if I can invest $1 million into this film and it's going to make $1 billion and I'm going to make like tens of millions, then fuck yeah, I'll do that. So that's why it's going to come out.
No. And the thing was, like, before we saw the apology, people were wondering, well, how do they still sell this movie with Ezra attached to it?
Yeah.
And a lot of fans, and I kind of agree with them, were saying, just change the title of the movie. Instead of The Flash, name it Batman Flashpoint or Beyond Flashpoint or something like that. Because like we memed last week with Pennyworth, the origins of Batman's butler.
Yeah.
Batman in the title always sells.
Yeah.
It does. And so I think you could have easily kind of made it hey, this is a Flash movie, but we're really trying to highlight Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton here and then sell it that way. I think you still could have made a profit.
I don't think that's necessary. I would call it Flashpoint, to be honest, but because it's just called The Flash right now, right?
Yes.
I don't think you need to change the title because, one, people already know it as The Flash, and we saw what happened with Birds of Prey. It should have been called Harley Quinn Birds of Prey at the start, but because they called it Birds of Prey, people didn't go watch it.
Yeah.
And it's also because COVID, and also because the movie wasn't the best. But the thing is, these promos and these trailers are going to be littered with Batman. Yeah. And I think that is going to sell it. The title's not going to matter. It's going to show up at the end. It's going to be called The Flash. And people are going to be like, oh, yeah, let me go watch that. All you need to do is that trailer is going to have, like, they're probably going to give away the best Batman moments, which is going to kind of suck, you know? But they're probably going to save, like, if there is a Wonder Woman cameo and an Aquaman cameo, they're probably going to save those, right?
Yeah.
But they're going to show, like, the Supergirl. They're going to show the double flashes. They're going to show Keaton's Batman and maybe even Ben's Batman. And if there's an action scene with them, they're going to show that. We know they're not on screen together, apparently. But, like, if either of them are in action scenes, they're going to use that as the big catalyst to do that. And I think they're just going to show maybe cool parts of the Flash, but they're not really going to focus on Ezra's face, which is going to be hard because apparently he's in it a lot. And we know Hollywood loves to keep the masks off. At least Marvel does. So there might be a lot of Ezra's face anyways, because that's just kind of how you have to sell the trailer. But you could easily keep him away from the posters and shit, though. You can highlight Keaton. You can highlight Affleck. You can highlight Iris, which they should really put her in that more.
Yeah.
And you can show all of these other people and just have the Flash as a character, like, running through the poster or in the background. And you don't need to focus on Ezra's face. So I think there's a lot of ways you can actually get around this without showing Ezra. And then once the movie's over, we recast because he's crazy. And that's it.
Well, no, and something that a lot of people did notice, and I noticed it very much so on the day of San Diego Comic-Con. If you go back to any footage of Zack Snyder's Justice League, the trailers and whatnot, there's a scene where Ezra is running towards like the monument where they're having the fight with Henry Cavill Superman.
Yeah.
And you can clearly see Ezra's face. In the Shazam trailer for San Diego Comic-Con this year, they used the exact same footage, but blurred the bottom half of Ezra's face. And I was like, that has to be intentional with everything that's going on. And it's smart because he's so fast. You don't really need to see him. You just need to know, oh, that's the Flash. And I totally agree.
His whole body, and it would make sense
with how you can play with the speed, quote unquote, with your posters. You can very much just have blurs and whatnot, and just say, "Oh, of course, that's the Flash doing that." You know?
Yeah. That would be so funny if they just went and edited him out of the whole movie, but it's just because he's so fast. They're like, "Are you here? Hello? Where are you?" You know, just have one scene being like, "Yeah, nobody can see me because I'm so fast." But yeah, I don't know. So yeah, I don't. It was interesting to see this, but I mean, I just find it funny that people actually thought this movie would get deleted. You know what I mean? Like there was no way he would have to kill somebody. They would have to go to that farm, and there's a bunch of dead bodies there. You know, like. If they went like the way Canada found all those dead bodies in that burial site or whatever, Ezra needs to have something like that. Like, you know, and they're just gonna be like, oh yeah, we can't release this. We're just gonna take the $200 million hit or whatever. This movie's coming out. So now is it gonna be delayed? I'm curious. It's already been delayed once. But like I said on last week's podcast, I would hire another studio to work on more FX or whatever. We're gonna get this out as fast as possible. And I would get it out as fast as possible.
Honestly, what I would have done if I was WB is I would have released it this year. Just be done with it and just say,
with
hey,
shitty effects.
As far as you already know that for one, people are already going to be jumping on it to see what the hype is about, see if it's as great as everybody's saying, and to see how Ezra is as a performer after all of these allegations and everything else.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's already going to make a profit just with the things surrounding it. I honestly think it would have been in the caliber of not saying that it's equal to, but the same thing with Black Panther. It looked great, but that third act was not great.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you could have pulled off here with it being great. And then maybe that third act not being amazing.
Yeah.
You still would have made a lot of money.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are saying this movie is going to flop. I don't believe that. I don't believe it's going to flop. I think you got to remember there's parents that just want to get their kids to shut up and they're going to take them to go see a superhero movie. And you got to remember too, there's a large part of the world that's not on social media.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people that I have families do not use social media. My parents don't use I think my dad has TikTok, but it's for like a lot of the videos and shit. But for the most part, like they don't have Facebooks and all this other crap.
It's going to be interesting on what their reactions are if it is a smash hit.
Yeah.
Like,
Twitter's just going to be like, oh yeah, boo, boo.
We fired Ezra, but I think we need him back. Like something like that. Like that would be fucking wild.
I don't think they can do that. That would be the backlash, you know? Like, I think some people can understand, like, the film's done, so you have to release it, right?
Yeah.
But keeping him on, Ezra would have to do, like, the biggest PR turnaround since Downey Jr., you know?
I was about to bring him up, yeah.
Yeah. Because it's doable. Hollywood forgives, like, you know? And Hollywood still, like, you know, they didn't take away fucking Weinstein's Oscars after all that shit. He still has all of them. So Hollywood will let shit slide. It doesn't matter how heinous shit is. They'll just be like, and that's not saying that that's okay. Just to clarify that. But I'm just telling you, realistically, that is how Hollywood is. Why do you think all these child stars are coming out and saying all these fucked up stories? Look at Jeanette McCurdy right now. She's so popular right now because of that shit she's talking about. Because Nickelodeon fucking had some crazy ass people working for him. So yeah, I don't know. I just find it funny that people thought that this movie wasn't going to come out. But will he stay clean until then? That's the biggest thing.
You got a year.
Yeah.
You got a whole fucking year.
Do they have somebody like watching him for a year, like a private investigator or something, be like, you follow Ezra everywhere he goes? Like, doesn't matter. Like, you follow him. And I wonder if they're just like, kind of talking about that. Because if anything, I would hire like a mental health person to be with Ezra at all times for the next year, no matter how much it costs. Because if you can rehabilitate him and his image, then you don't have to worry about changing the universe, But yeah. I personally would cut my losses after this movie, hire somebody new, more stable, that's not as eccentric or whatever, and just get away from him. Because the one thing we know about a lot of people that do have mental health issues or addictions, there's a good chance they relapse. Yeah. And Ezra is so out there that his relapse, you don't know how bad it could be.
They have 10 months.
Yeah, it's a long time.
To make sure that Ezra doesn't do anything else.
What does it come out? May? June?
June of 2023.
Yeah. I would say they should bump it up if they can. Like if they get the VFX and stuff done early, like, hey, we're moving it up to April. Like move it up to spring break. And then get it out of there. Oh, wait, is that Aquaman?
Yes, that is.
When does Aquaman come out?
So, Aquaman, I believe,
or is that January? No, because what is it? December is Shazam?
I think it's either I think it might be March.
Yeah. They're gonna do the water movie during spring break, of course. When everybody's destroying the world with partying and littering, they're gonna drop the movie about you shouldn't litter and stuff. So yeah. Anyways, that's all we got for that. What do we got for questions this week?
So questions, I'm looking at the YouTube right now. Of course, our YouTube is now watchable for the first time this week.
I fucked up the intro somehow. I don't know what happened there. It usually plays the old 66 intro. It played the audio, but it didn't have the video, and I don't know what happened, so I have to fix that.
All right, so Raphael comes in with the first question saying, I recently found out that Kevin Conroy wrote a story for a comic in relation to his work as the voice of Batman and the complications he had since he is gay. I think the story was in DC Pride 2022. I loved it. Did you read it? And if you did, what'd you think?
I did not read that. Was it good?
It was really good. It was very dark.
Ooh.
Just with how like he had talked about this before the book came out with his story, but like he was dealing with depression and all of that and a lot of just judgmental stuff with that.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it. It's not very fancy. It's very like almost newspaper art style, kind of caricature-esque, but it's still really, really good.
That's cool. I actually didn't find out about Conroy being gay till like 2 or 3 years ago. So,
really?
Yeah, I didn't know for the longest time. I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
The thing that makes me laugh though is there's some hardcore Batman fans out there that do not like gay people, and the best Batman there is gay. Yeah. So I'm like, suck on it, suck on it.
No,
go for it.
Go ahead.
Or I was gonna say they're probably also like huge Batman the Animated Series fans. So now they're just like malding, like
God damn it.
Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say
it's just a phase.
I just recently saw a TikTok about how he was talking about how a fan back in the day talked to him about Arkham Origins, and they're like, "Oh man, did you hear about this? Batman game coming out?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I heard about that." And they're like, he's like, "Yeah, it's gonna be really cool." And blah blah blah. He wasn't giving any like hard details about it, and they're like, "Yeah, it's a really great name too, Arkham Origins." And he was like, "Arkham what?" And so he was talking about apparently Arkham Knight was already in development and he was already working on it. And when they
is he not the voice in Arkham Origins?
No.
Oh shit! It's been so long since I played that.
Yeah. So they like apparently his PR guy like called him or WB called him and they're like, "Hey, you're in like deep shit. Basically, you broke your contract." And you are no longer allowed at Comic-Cons. And like he had to fight to go back to Comic-Cons.
Wow.
because
Well, they
he
shouldn't
like
have had two things in development without telling him.
yeah.
So that's kind of on the company, in my opinion.
Yeah, but he
Um,
just recently told that story. I thought it was fucking wild.
yeah,
Um,
Conroy's dope. I have not met him before, but I wish I can before. Because
I
he's getting old. So
I'm trying to think of all the Comic Cons that I went to. I don't think I've met him either.
yeah.
Um,
I regret not talking to Adam West because he was at one of our Comic Cons a long time ago, and there wasn't a shitload of people at his table when he was there. And I was like, oh, that's Batman fucking 66. But
yeah,
I didn't go up there and talk to him. Because at the same time, like I know of a lot of people, but I also don't know what I would talk to them about, because I
yeah,
don't always like being the fanboy, be like, oh, you were so great in this, you know what I mean? I usually like to have some type of topic or conversation to talk with people, instead of just going up there and be like, "Can I have an autograph?" Because like then you're just the same person over and over.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, for sure.
but
Nathan says Ezra can use the money for the Flash for his bail. Talking about him being charged. He
oh
wasn't
yeah,
arrested, but he was charged for the burglary and everything else. Um, Young was asking what stream this was, and Ethan was asking if the gameplay was a time that he was playing. So
yeah.
nothing
If
more on that.
if I have links to the footage, I will try to put them in the description in the future. But I couldn't even find that stream myself, so I was just like, I think it's old footage I've had compiled. So it could be in numerous streams. I don't really know. So
Nice.
yeah, there's that.
Going to the Discord, first question comes from Red. Did you run out of question gifts or something? Yes, I did. I put Batman the Animated Series gif instead of the question from Justice League Unlimited. So I did run out of those. Bats comes in with the first official question saying, The Rock in the past was like a broken record with the hierarchy of power in the DC universe is about to change. Do you think he'll be on board with that eventually? He's going to be defeated by Shazam in a potential Shazam versus Black Adam movie, since he's known for his contract of never losing a fight on screen. So much for the hierarchy.
Yeah.
So, what do you think?
He does have that in his contract. But like he has to lose. Like,
I
you
think
know?
I've always said this about The Rock, and it's very unfortunate that he may be the big promoter, he's the guy that everybody likes and everything else, but you can't choose an anti-hero that does things that heroes don't like and be like, "Oh, I'm always going to be on top."
Yeah.
Because that's not how these aspects of these heroes and this world works.
Yeah.
Like you can't say, "Oh, I can kill people and everybody needs to be fine with it."
Yeah.
Like I've always said, you look at the MCU, Loki and Tom Hiddleston, nobody loved Tom Hiddleston because he got his own solo project.
Yeah.
He was the villain in Thor. He grew to be the villain in Avengers. He had his redemption story. And now he has his own solo projects making millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Like, I think you could have very easily had that same thing because Black Adam does have a history with the JSA. He does have a history of being somewhat of a quote unquote good person on his terms.
Yeah.
And you could have easily had him as the villain first, had that kind of character build up redemption story, and then have him working with the good guys.
Yeah.
But he doesn't want to be the bad guy.
Yeah, that's a weird thing. And it's very odd that he does not like he came from wrestling, and wrestling is you take the pin and they call it putting over a guy.
Yeah.
So you would put him over, and he did this to Stone Cold twice, and then Stone Cold's last match ever, I believe so. He let The Rock win because The Rock was now gonna take the mantle and be the superstar. And so The Rock needs to do that to Zachary Levi here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He needs to have Shazam go over. But I don't know what they're gonna do here because it doesn't sound like he's showing up in Shazam 2. So
No, it doesn't. And to answer Bat's question, I don't think he wants to have that. I think he wants to win fighting against Superman and win against fighting against Shazam. And he wants heroes to be able to say, "Oh, well, he's too strong. At least he's on our side."
yeah, that would be dumb. He needs to lose at some point. But it is an ego thing in Hollywood that a lot of these guys can't like look bad or can't, I don't know, man. Like it's you notice that those people that have those claws are the one note actors. Like you don't see that
Yep.
with DiCaprio. DiCaprio will get his fucking shit pushed in like for an Oscar. You know what I mean? So like, because that bear hold no punches with him in that movie. That bear destroyed him. But yeah, I don't know. It's these one note actors that are not the best. These like action hero guys that's all they get roles for. Have these stupid clauses. Like, I don't know. I mean, I would hope that would change. Like, I hope DC's like, you're a bad guy. You're gonna lose. But maybe that's why we heard the rumors that he didn't want Flash and Shazam to be or not Flash, but Black Adam and Shazam to have the same origin in the same movie, which I kind of agree with because if you're going to tell the stories of both of them, then you'd have to rush them in a double origin story, in my opinion.
But the origin of Black Adam was very much glossed over
in the first movie.
In the first Shazam movie. And that's really all you need. You need this like, very vague, hey, he was a champion and now he's not.
Yeah.
Like, and that gives you enough like mystery of the character. And then he shows up. I think that would have been sufficient enough.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, I am very much in the camp of I honestly don't think The Rock wants a high profile ensemble cast because he wants to be the top build and everything.
Yeah. I mean, at the moment, who's higher than him in DC at the moment?
I mean,
Ben Affleck is better than him just because he's Batman.
Well, in his own movie, I would say Pierce Brosnan.
Oh yeah, I mean, but he's just a legend, So,
exactly.
But we'll see. But I think when it comes to anything else, yeah, I don't know. We'll have to we'll have to see where it goes. I hope they're not going to build the whole universe around him, but they might if that movie does insanely well.
Like,
when
there's
does it come
this
out?
rumor that comes out in October.
Oh, okay,
it comes out the week after Halloween. Not the holiday, but the movie Halloween comes out, and then it's Black Adam, and then it doesn't have any competition until I think the end of November or possibly the beginning of December.
Is that when Avatar comes out or whatever?
Yeah.
That's the movie I'm most curious about if people are going to go watch, because that movie sucked, in my opinion.
I don't think people will. Like, I know that in people's eyes, Shazam was like a flop, but it actually like made a lot more money and profited off of it. And I don't think Shazam has officially moved yet because people are saying, oh, it's going to be scared of Avatar 2. I think people would go see Shazam 2 over Avatar.
I don't see the appeal to Avatar. I understood why people went to go watch it so much. And I also hate that people are like, yeah, I made the most money. It's so good. Everybody forgets to realize that James Cameron like made those ticket prices way more expensive than tickets were at the time. Like, I think the 3D digital whatever was like $20 or something like that, which that was never happening back then. And I've asked before. I asked the people at the stuff. I was like, "Yo, why are the tickets prices so wild sometimes?" They're like, "Oh, we don't control ticket prices. The studio does." And I'm just like, "Oh, interesting." So yeah. So if you're ever wondering why something costs more, it's because the studio wants that.
Yeah.
Which also goes to make records meaningless. When people are like, "Oh, Avengers has the number one," I'm like, "Well, yeah, because Disney made the prices like set certain way,
Yeah.
So, it is what it is. Anyways, we got any more questions?
The last question, you guys basically went on a giant tangent in Batman News Weekly which was Ethan's. And honestly, I don't have an answer for it because we all know how these end up. It's like, because this question was regarding Daredevil versus Batman. It's, we fight because we don't know each other. We find out that we're both good guys. Okay, let's go fight the bad guys.
I think we skipped some. Yeah, we skipped. I mean, that's true what you're saying. We skipped Charlie, and it was Young's original question, but Bats actually cleaned it up. How would you feel about Robert Pattinson in the DCEU?
Oh, we've talked about this before. If they were to keep the first 15 to 20 minutes of Batman and put it into the DCEU, I think it works. But also, you need to make him more Batman accurate.
Yeah. Yeah, he can't do the realistic thing in the DCEU. So
Yeah.
that doesn't work. Also, I mean, I mentioned it earlier in this podcast. I would trade Ben Affleck's Batman for Robert Pattinson's Batman. So I would just go with that. And then Charlie says, do you think the Flash is even worth it? And I asked him to explain what he meant by that. He said, are you still interested? Do you think it is important to the DCU at this point?
And that's what I'm curious about. Like, is Zaslav going to use Flashpoint as a, hey, we're going to do reshoots to make this reboot make sense? Or is Flashpoint going to come out? They're going to let Joker and the Batman play through and then officially start the relaunch of what his DCEU looks like and just make Flashpoint the end of this current DCEU? I don't know yet. So I think that we won't know if it's worth it until we see the movie.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's been talked about for so long that it is going to be the reset, right? Or the soft reboot movie.
Yeah.
So I think it's extremely important if that's going to be the case, you know? But now that we canceled, Batgirl, I don't know what's happening with Keaton. Are they going to just have him go back to his own universe after this?
I think that they would probably have to which is why I'm saying maybe it is a just a hard end. This is this isn't a to be continued. It's boom, story's over, starting a new story later,
Yeah. I would actually, the way you do it is if you're going to hard end with Keaton, you have him go back to his universe, or you have him go back to a different universe where he is Batman Beyond. And you just set that, you just tease that. And I think that would be great. Or when he goes back to his universe, it's that futuristic looking Gotham. And he's like, I'm home. And then it just sets up oh, fuck. You know what I mean? You can even have him teleport back to his Batcave, show the futuristic Gotham, and show somebody outside the gates of Wayne Manor. And it's just a shadowy figure, and it's like Terry. That'd be kind of...
I would be cool with that.
So I think that would be a cool way to do it. But yeah, I would say I'm still interested for sure. I don't care about the whole, I'm not going to see that movie because of Ezra Miller. I'm going to see what the fuck it's going to do to the universe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've never been a big fan of Ezra Miller, period. So I think he's a pretty shit villain. And I can deal with the quirkiness of his Flash because that's kind of how he is sometimes, So yeah. Anyways, from all of that, let's finally move on to comics, what did you all read? Did you read 4 books?
So the way I was looking at it, I read Riddler's Bad Day.
Mm-hmm.
I read Batman Superman World's Finest.
Samesies.
Catwoman.
Samesies.
DC Vampires.
Yep.
And Nightwing.
Okay, cool. Got 5 books. Let's just run through Vampires really quickly. What are your thoughts?
I was a little disappointed because I think you hyped me up on the idea a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And I like how Talia kind of got our thoughts on the first one when she was like, oh, so you were going to bring back Batman, but now we got this flea market Batman. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
You wasted our time, basically.
Yeah.
I like the direction it's going because I want to see more for sure.
Yeah.
Because the possibility of there being another pit means that, hey, maybe we can throw an audible and bring Batman back. Because right now their plan is, hey, Weather Wizard is actually in Australia and he's keeping open a small glimmer of sunlight to help plant algae to keep the humans alive. Don't know how all that works out.
Yeah.
But they're going to take the Weather Wizard. They're going to throw him in the pit, make him human, and then he would have a reason to live, and then bring back the sunlight for the rest of the Earth to help with, of course, Supergirl, that we know is trying to do the exact same thing and get her powers back. and then possibly convert, I guess, everybody else. Like, I'm not entirely sure how this would all play out.
Yeah, I mean, the whole story was them going to Talia, and then, of course, the vampires were right on their tail, and it was this big fight, and Talia was like, what the hell? You brought them to us kind of shit. Constantine was a big part of this book and was using Deadman a lot to, like, make these tricks happen. I wish we could get, like, with these vampire books, it feels like it's constantly been the vampires are there, they kill people, you know, we rush to the next scene. We can take an issue where we learn about a lot of shit and they show up right at the end. We don't need to have these massacres every single time. It starts becoming like the zombie book, you know, where like everybody just kept dying and blah, blah, blah. So I wish we would learn a little bit more about what's going on. One of my pet peeves that annoyed me at the end was they were trying to run away and Wonder Woman was chasing after them. Constantine stops Deathstroke and he's all like, hey, the last Lazarus pit is in freaking Central City under the Flash Museum or whatever the hell he said. He was like, go there. I'll hold her back. Why would you say that out loud? You know what I mean? Like, for all I know, vampires have a hive mind. I wouldn't say that shit out loud. So that was just a little pet peeve. That's nitpicking. But yeah, for the most part, it was an interesting book. I was curious if they were going to kill Wonder Woman here. And also, what is technically Booster Gold's powers? It's not light powers, is it? Because then
no,
it's all everybody.
It's all technology based.
Okay, but have they killed Light? What's her face? What's the Light character that's black and white that
Dr.
had the
Light?
horrible? Yeah, Dr. Light. It's female version now, right? Because the original was a rapey guy. So, is Dr. Light, has she died already in this book?
I don't remember.
Because I feel like Dr. Light would be fucking OP in this. So I feel like she was probably a side character that died, maybe. Like nonchalant.
Probably off page or whatever.
Yeah. So very curious. But yeah, I saw that and I was like, is Wonder Woman dead? But I think she just got buried in a bunch of rocks or something like that. So now it's like Walking Dead at the very end, where they're in a big city now, and they're like going down the street and they're like, we'll have to do whatever we have to survive.
But here's the kicker: at the very end of the book, we see Billy Batson's Shazam, somehow omnipotent. Don't know how that fucking works out.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like he's being held by Lex fucking Luthor.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's the suit, and I'm like, didn't Lex fucking die?
I have no idea. I don't know what's going on there. Yeah, at the end, I was just like confused about like what the hell was happening. I was like, okay. I was like, Mary Marvel's a badass, it looks like in this book, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I will say, you know, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, but I was also kind of rushing through the book as well. I was going to skip this book, but then Clay was like, hey, I got to go do something. I was like, I guess I'll read it. And so I read it. But and then I reread Catwoman because I kind of blazed through that like a few weeks ago. So I did that. But yeah, let's go from there to Nightwing. What were your thoughts on this book? I saw somebody on Twitter that said that they think that the not Super Sons, the fucking World's Finest is better writing for Dick Grayson than Nightwing. So they were like, that's the true Nightwing. That's the true version of Dick Grayson and not what we're getting from
that person just loves really campy writing.
Yeah, probably.
This, I really, really enjoyed this. I think this is like, I'm not going to say peak Tom Taylor, but this is why Tom Taylor writes the books that he writes. I think this kind of encompasses everything that he can do. There's some dark tone stuff. There is some light tone stuff. And then there's stuff that just gets you really hyped up.
Yeah. He's a team book person. 100%.
Yes, he is. I really like the inclusion of Batwoman here. The inclusion of Sawyer and what is his other name?
I don't know.
I forgot the other detective.
Yeah, I forget.
Yeah, but they're from the Superman the Animated Series.
Oh, okay.
Maggie is part of comics, but the other guy was, I'm pretty sure, an original character for Superman the Animated Series.
Nice.
And I think having them here is really, really cool. For a split fucking second, when the guy shoots this old police chief or whatever, and it shows the next page, I did not read the 5 minutes later. I legit thought Maggie just like witnessed this murder. I was like, holy shit, she's gonna fucking die. Like all these cops are gonna turn on her. But I really enjoyed this. You know, this is starting to get into the whole thing that we wanted to learn. Okay, what about the sister? How are we gonna get her involved? Things are starting to get ramped up. I'm hoping that Taylor doesn't jump the shark and really cut this like at the knees and being like rushed, you know?
Yeah, I definitely don't want that to happen either. I will say, you know, this thing goes really fast. It's a lot of fighting in this book, and at the very end, we have Haven gets destroyed, and we see Nightwing have to make a decision between two kids because Blockbuster has these two kids in the palm, literally in the palms of his hands, and he was like, "I'll kill them both if you don't like put down your weapons." And Nightwing's like, "I know he will," so he's like, "All right." And he throws down his weapons and he lets the kids go and he destroys Nightwing. This was my biggest pet peeve of the book. He slams down on Nightwing and his mask flies off. And I'm like, really? Like, you could have, like, it's out of all the things that Nightwing has ever been through, his mask has never flown off like that. But he does one huge slam and his mask comes off. I was like, that was kind of dumb. Like, you could have knocked him out and just ripped his mask off, you know? I think that would have been better. But that was my only pet peeve of the book. But yeah, I like the team up. I like this whole idea that Nightwing could actually take down a whole criminal organization in one night. I thought that was a cool concept. And he had the Teen Titans. He had his friends. The only person he was missing in this situation was John, I thought.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But for the most part, it was a cool book, fast read, in my opinion. I just didn't like the way it ended, but we'll see where it goes from here. Because now you have to deal with a villain knowing the identity of a character.
Yeah.
And you have to tell that story going forward.
Now, the thing is, I am pretty sure, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, I am pretty sure in the past, Blockbuster has found out Dick Grayson's identity before. And which makes things a little bit confusing with this whole, like, everything matters, and they brought every continuity into canon. And so technically Blockbuster should know his identity, but doesn't.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting on how Taylor deals with this, whether it be, you know, manipulation of the mind, you know, forgetting, like making him forget this or whatever.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting on how he does it.
Yeah. Do you think DC has a rule of not being able to reference Identity Crisis?
I don't know. I feel like it has in the past, but I don't know if it was anywhere near like New 52 or Rebirth or anything. So I don't know if it's happened in the last 10 years.
Yeah. Because I'm very curious, because you could still have those heroes doing that. You know what I mean? Like some of them, if you wanted to, which would be interesting. So yeah, I don't know. Overall, good story. But let's jump over to World's Finest, which was the campier version of Dick Grayson. I enjoyed this book for what it was. I thought it was dope.
Yeah, this is it shows Dick Grayson stuck in time.
Yeah.
And he has found a circus where of course he thrives. And in the middle of the circus there is some sort of investigation because it seems that animals in the circus are killing people.
Yeah.
And so Dick Grayson is not so quick to blame these animals. He wants to do an investigation and whatnot. And all of a sudden, in the middle of his performance, we see Batman show out of fucking nowhere. He's like, "Holy shit, Bruce, what's going on?" He's like, "Oh, we
didn't know it was Bruce at first. I thought it was just somebody dressed as Batman.
I thought so too.
Yeah.
Or I thought it was maybe just like an hallucination or something.
Yeah.
Just kind of like a daydream or whatever. And we see that Dick Grayson was very what's the word? I can't think of the word off the top of my head, but he had made a note on the bottom of a stone at the tombstone or at the prison of the demon.
Yeah.
And he said, "Hey guys, come find me." And so were able to use Superman's microscopic vision and infrared vision.
How do you think he got the note under that rock?
I don't know how it stays for that long of time. That's the only thing.
I think, I mean, nobody can move a rock like that besides Superman. So I'm like, the note staying there is not the problem. I'm like, how did he get it there?
So
that's what I'm thinking.
It's two different rocks, though. So there's the large rock that's on top of the small rock with the note.
Yes.
So I'm guessing that he had the small rock, and then he probably used tools or whatever to roll the other one on top of it.
Yeah. I was just all like, huh. Because Superman, of course, nonchalantly, and that's all he did this book, was just lift shit. It's like, I'm Superman.
Yeah, because he goes to the circus and he's like a strong man or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is really funny because that's what Superman was based off of.
Yeah.
He was based off of a circus strongman.
Good callback.
Which
is what they say he would have to be if he were to show up in the Batman, because they can't do anything else with him. He would just be a strongman. Yeah, that's why I tell people there's no way we can get Freeze the way we want him. It's gonna be he's gonna be an ice cream man or something. So
yeah. So they were able to find out what the mystery was, and the person in the very beginning who quote unquote didn't want to kill the animals was the one that was actually like involved in this whole scheme of like a cover-up of a murder, and like there's these people that robbed a bank and everything. So it was really cool. This was like Dick Grayson's time to shine. He figured out the entire mystery. And I thought it was really, really cool.
Yeah, no, it was a great little book. I'm actually enjoying this kind of story, though. Very different from what we get from Batman, but it also involves Superman, and we have Dick Grayson in there and a whole bunch of other people. This is why I think it's fine for DC to just make other continuity timelines. Like, again.
But the thing is...
Oh, it is continuity.
This has now become continuity with what's coming out next month. Or in November, I can't remember. Mark Waid is doing a Batman versus Robin, and it was referenced in the last issue of this whole like demon prison Niza or whatever.
Yeah. So. I still think like multiple timeline things could work, you know, like just sell books. Like that's what you're trying to do. If you have stuff that people like, just keep doing that, you know?
Yeah.
But you know, cause I enjoy this, like it's campy as hell, but I enjoy it. Cause I respect it. I understand what's going on, and it's blue cow Batman. You know, I love blue cow Batman. But before we go on to talk about the Tom King One Bad Day book, let's talk about Catwoman, because Clay mentioned this earlier. Better than Chip Zdarsky right now. And as I reread this book, because I was like, because when I first read this originally, we get these books a month in advance almost, and we have not got the next one. I was like ready. I was like, let me fucking check, because the next one, the synopsis for it has the word lover in it or some shit like that. I'm like, oh, bitch. But Tini Howard is writing this so well that I don't know if I should believe what she says in the synopsises of these books. You know what I mean? So in this, we start off, Tini Howard hits you in the dick on page 1 with classic Batman and Catwoman. And they're talking about trying to get away from Mr. Freeze. And then it cuts to Batman and Catwoman kissing. And then it cuts to them beating down some villains or beating down some criminals, and Catwoman taking some money. And then, of course, it also talks about how she's stealing stuff to get money to feed the alley cat kid, the alley town. Let's say alley cat. Alley town kids. They can have Easter baskets and a pool. And Bruce is like, I can buy them a pool. And then she gets pissed. She's like, fuck you. I don't need you.
Well, no, because he says stealing like this is shameless.
Oh,
I have money. And she's like, fuck you. I'm not ashamed of doing this. I want to do this for these kids.
Yeah.
And again, it's an argument that could very much be like, okay, let's cool it down. Let's have an actual conversation.
Too. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's have an actual conversation and then fix this problem.
Yeah.
But because, let's face it, they both have egos.
Mm-hmm.
And because Catwoman is the way she is, she's going to take that insult and she's going to say, fuck you.
Yeah.
And I totally get it. And also, again, I keep saying it, this book looks fucking great.
Yes, it is. It feels like a Tom King like you could just insert this to Tom King, like the way it's drawn and stuff, like a Tom King run. Like if you were to just take all the dialogue away and I didn't know who was writing it, I could probably be like, oh yeah, this wasn't a Tom King run, you know, these first few pages at least. So while this is going on though, through this little Batcat history that we're getting at the start, she's saying that she misses having somebody holding her, like behind her back, like having her back through every situation. And she even misses the fighting, like, you know, the disagreements. She misses that from Batman. She never says Batman, but they're showing Batman, so you assume she misses that part. And this is where the writing gets very subtle, and it makes me like, what are you doing, Howard? Because she says, sometimes I just miss knowing that there was someone there who had my back. And it's automatically some big lug trying to destroy her. And her first words are, Valmont, where the hell are you? So he doesn't have her back right away. So am I to think he is just, I mean, I automatically think he's a lesser Batman. He's inferior. He's a piece of shit. I don't give a fuck about him. But am I to read that? Is that a very subtle thing? Like, here, I am showing you in the description and in words that he is not Batman. He is not the person that is going to have her back the way Batman did. You know what I mean? Like, I can read it in that way. And she's fighting for a little bit, and Valmont doesn't go to Catwoman. He goes to another guy, and he's like, you know, capturing him, doing all that kind of jazz. Doesn't kill them, but kind of mentions it, you know, kind of mentions like, oh, we could take these guys out. He ends up going to Catwoman. Catwoman saves herself, mind you, and she catches this guy in a way, knocks him out, and he's like, oh, you know, he's going to come back. He's going to be mad. He's like, I don't want to kill this guy. He's already had brain damage. Like, they took a part of his brain out. Like, he's just a big lug. Like, I feel bad just knocking him in the head. And so you see this conversation between Valmont being kind of like, you know, could have done a little bit more, you know?
Yeah.
He might come back. And Selina's like, no, you're seeing the compassion from Selina. Even though she just beat the shit out of somebody, she has compassion, which that's something you see with Batman. Batman will beat the shit out of you and then give your family a house. You know what I mean?
Well, not only that, she does make it like clear, hey, he has like brain damage.
Yeah.
So like what he is doing is not his fault.
Yes.
So he's not a problem.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and just leave him. I actually feel bad for what I did, and let's fucking go.
Yes. Then the next couple of pages are just generic, like, boss guy talk. And we see Selina talking to an ex-lover of hers, which for those of you that read New 52, this was the woman that she was the bi Selina with, which they have never referenced until now. Like,
yeah, Eco is her name.
Yeah. And she has been one of the 5 heads of Gotham or whatever that we were reading in at the start of, they were introduced right at the start of Teeny Howard's run, right? Like, that was not Ram V at all, if I'm not mistaken, right? She's the one that created these 5 people, right? So
yeah,
the start of Teeny Howard's run, we've seen these people before. And they're having this like conversation between girls, you know, they're like, yeah, I don't know, you and I are very different. We were once like lovers or whatever, but you're, you know, I want this and you want that, and we're very different people, but you like the uncertainty or something along those lines. She's like, is that why you haven't got rid of Valmont? And Selina's kind of blushing. She's like, he's just a colleague or whatever. And they're kind of having this weird off and on conversation. And she's just kind of like, look, you and I can't work together because if you want to, like, I don't want to be a crime boss. That's what Selina's saying. Like, if you want to be a crime boss and be a part of these people, that's never going to happen if you work with me or work for me. So you need to change that. And they're kind of scheming here. And she's like, I don't want to work with them. I'm building my own organization. And Selina's just like, that's never going to happen if I'm here. Like, I'm going to get out of town for a while so I can make you like the head of the castle while I'm gone. So Selina's already planning on leaving at this point. And so they're kind of talking. And then we have this conversation in a supermarket where it's between Valmont and Selina. This is another one of those things on, you can read it in a bad way if you want to, or is it just subtle conversation where we actually take it like Selina's like not letting Valmont get too close? Because they're having this conversation, they're shopping for stuff, and Selina's like, I need to get out of town. And he's like, why? He was like, look, I need somebody, I know you can get in and steal stuff and all that kind of jazz. I need to get out of town for a while. You're the only person that has these kind of connections that I need. And he's like, oh, for business or pleasure? She's like, necessary pleasure. So she knows she needs to get out of town. Some people might be like, oh, what do you mean by that? Because they hear the word pleasure. And it's like, Selena gets pleasure out of stealing. Like, if they're just going to go steal, like, it could be anything.
Because she even says, like, if you can find me a good score, that's fine.
Yeah. And so this is where it's interesting and where I think people can be jumping the gun right now. Because Valmont says, Cat, you didn't think I was going to send you out in the world without a traveling companion. And she says, don't call me Cat. That's just don't. Then what do I call you? Call me Selena. You can take this in two ways. She's giving him her name, which is a very personal thing because that's identity, right? So you could take this as like, oh, she's letting him in by giving her her name. But she didn't want to be called Cat because who calls her Cat? Bruce.
Batman.
Yeah, exactly.
But also, you can go into, if you want to really dissect this, who is she really? Is she Catwoman or is she Selena?
Yeah. It's like, is he really Batman or is he Bruce Wayne? Like, who's the mask, right? So it goes on from there. She says, I don't need a vacation. I've already had one. I need to work. So they kind of have this back and forth, and he's like, oh, you sure you don't need me for like anything else? Or she's like, oh yeah, you'll need help here as well. And she's like, Valmont, who's going to drive me to the airport? You know what I mean? So Teenie Howard is playing this very subtle game that you can read two different ways. At first, I was like, you bitch, you gave out her fucking name, fuck you. And then I actually read it, and I was like, oh, you could actually take it as she doesn't want anybody calling her Cat but Batman. You know what I mean? And then from here, the rest of the pages are the whole fallout between the mob thing, and they kind of stage Selena's death here. And she explodes on a yacht after she shows her face to the mob. And this is where she's going to get out of town. She ends up showing up on the beach, and Valmont and her go away on her motorcycle to get out of town. Now, there is a Catwoman on the highway when Selena and Valmont are getting out of town. And it's because it looks like Eco, or whatever her name is going to be Catwoman for a little bit because they don't want to, they want to keep up appearances. Now, this I cannot confirm nor deny, but this outfit may or may not show up in a future issue of a book that's already going to come out in a month. That's all I'm going to say.
Yes, Juice is very much somebody. As soon as we get the book, she's like, Batman book, Batman book, Batman book. Okay, I'm gonna read it.
Fucking instantly. Like, I'm like, oh, yep, check. So I didn't read that part. So now I'm gonna have to go back now that I've read Catwoman because I don't know what's going on there. So that's an interesting thing. We'll talk about that in the future. But the next book is called Thieves Who Steal Together, Stay Together. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if it's this book. I think it's actually 48 because I think this was 46, right? I think it's not the next book, but it's the following one that had the lines of what happens when two lovers cross or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those could be buzzwords to get you to want to buy the book because at the moment, Teenie Howard is still playing a very subtle line. They're going to go on a vacation or whatever. Selena calls it work. They're going to go steal all this shit. The way I could see this next book playing out is they could be having fun doing all this stuff. And maybe what's his name's going to go in for a kiss. Maybe we have a very subtle Catwoman who's not pulling away. And right before it happens, Batman shows up. And that way, Teenie Howard could save this whole thing. You know, I think even if they kiss, like you can kind of let that slide. But the moment like they like, you know, hook up or whatever, that's when the fandoms are going to be like, fuck you. Because they already hate her, right? Yeah. Because of just being this subtle. And I think they're not really reading between the lines. Like we're kind of dissecting it here. But once they cross the line, that's kind of it for them, for I think the audience. Do you think DC is still saying they need to stay apart though? You know?
I don't know, man. It's hard. Like I would hope, and that's the thing, like we all hope that DC would see people were excited about Batcat.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I haven't seen the numbers for issue 12, the actual wedding.
Yeah.
But like maybe they were good enough to be like, okay, people actually want this. So maybe we can work things out, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I will say Howard has got me interested, man. And that's the only thing you need to do as a writer is keep me interested. And she got me. And we were going to drop this book until I saw somebody pointed out on Reddit that those 2 issues that we skipped had said like interesting things involving Batcat. And I was like, oh, fuck. And so I went back and read them, and, going on with all this Valmont stuff is going to be pretty interesting. Now, I'm really hoping Howard makes Valmont a criminal out of this, though. We don't need another hero, and we don't need another Selena love interest or anything like that. I would love if he was doing shit behind her back. You know what I mean? Like slowly trying to woo her, but at the same time doing some really criminally fucked up shit. And Batman's like if Selena's definitely there and she's like, Batman, nothing was happening. Like, this is, whatever. And he's like, you will be cold as fuck. Is if Batman's like, I'm not here for you, Selena. I'm here for Valmont. And she's like, why? And he's all like, Valmont's been doing all of this around Gotham and blah, blah, blah. That would be fucking great. Because then it's just like, she's just like, oh, what the fuck? Like, I've been getting played this whole time, And then it only strengthens the relationship between Batcat because she's like, I should have never questioned my love for you or whatever, That would be fucking great. Is that going to happen? I have no idea. But, we'll see in the future. Now, let's move on to Tom King's Riddler or Batman One Bad Day, because you need the Batman in the title. Batman One Bad Day, The Riddler. All drawn by Mitch Gerard, written by Tom King. Overall, what is your thoughts on this book?
I really enjoyed it until the last 10 to 15 pages.
Really? Okay. Yes. I will tell you, I read this book when I was super tired. And I was just like, and I usually, anything Tom King, I read really fast. But when you hit me with 64 pages, I'm just like, oh, I don't care who you are. 64 pages is a lot.
No, because I opened it and I was like, there's going to be a lot of these like One Bad Day books. Let me just see. And I saw 64. I was like, fuck.
Yeah. And I was just like, I'll wait. And I tried to read this book like 2 or 3 times throughout the week before leading up to the podcast. But I was like, I'm just not into it, man. Like, I don't want to. 64 pages is a lot. And I know if I start reading a King book, I'm not going to put it down. But I was tired reading this because I didn't want to read it this morning because I was going to feel rushed. But at the same time, I shouldn't have been reading while I was super tired either. Because I know King's going to have a lot of dialogue, especially if it's a one-shot, And I was just like, oh, okay. But tell me your perspective, because since it's the last 15 pages you didn't like.
So there's this one part where Batman goes to see Riddler's father.
Yeah.
And he's dodging it. And he's dodging the shotgun bullets because his father is just like, fuck you, get away from me. If you get any closer, I'll shoot. And he shoots like twice. And there is just a badass monologue coming from Batman in that page.
Yeah.
And at the very end, he's like, the moment you pulled that trigger, all thought of mercy left. Yeah. And I was like, that's a fucking Batman. This is what I needed. This is badass. The one part that I hated, and we've always said, Batman can lose.
Yes.
He's not invincible. He can lose. But never make it so that you belittle the character.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment Riddler said, oh, I've been to your house several times. I've been in your house several times. I've seen you sleep. I've seen Damian sleep. I've done this. I've done that. I've actually taken $1 just to see if you ever saw it. Like, I'm sorry. That's where you went too far.
Yeah.
Everything else was really, really good. Even the idea of Riddler knowing he is Bruce Wayne got me like, oh shit. But then when he said, oh yeah, I've been fucking with you this entire time. I've been inside your house. I've walked around the entire mansion and like all of this shit. I was like, you took it a step too far.
Yeah. Yeah. Does that, I agree. Like, it was really weird to hear or read, I should say. But if you were to go back and read all of Tom King's like Riddler stuff, this is very consistent. like his wars on jokes and riddles, his Riddler was really smart. Like, and
No,
he didn't care about Batman.
And I totally agree with that. And that's why I said, like, I questioned for a second him saying, "Oh, I know who you are, Bruce," or like he just says something. He doesn't say, "Oh, I know who you are, Bruce."
Yeah.
He references something that makes you, as the reader, know, "Oh, he knows he's Bruce Wayne."
Yeah.
And I was okay with that. But the moment you made it sound like, oh, like he is so smart, he was able to go to Bruce Wayne, aka Batman's house, several times throughout the night. Like, I'm sorry, you were making it to where this fortified fortress that Batman has as the mansion and cave is no longer a fortified fortress. I'm sorry.
I agree and disagree at the same time. So I'm not a fan of like that much detail like you're talking about, like everything. He did kind of go a little far, I will agree. But I have mentioned this a bunch of times. This has happened a lot, like with Batman. You know what I mean? And it's kind of annoying. It's why I don't like Tim Drake's origin. And I think Tim Drake is like, his origin sucks, in my opinion, of being like the only Robin to ever figure out who Batman is. Because I think if Tim Drake can do that, other people should be able to do that. Now, this kind of enforces that, though. Like that. So maybe Tim Drake's origin isn't that bad because other people have figured out who Batman is. So, or maybe it makes it worse. I don't know. You're a Tim Drake fan. I don't give a fuck about him. So maybe you think that's worse or not. But we know Selina knows who he is. We know Joker knows who he is. We know who Riddler knows. So I can take it in two ways. Yes, I don't like when identities are revealed, but at the same time, if somebody like Selina Kyle can break into the mansion all the time, why can't somebody else? Especially like Riddler, who is very planned out and very smart and all this kind of stuff. Why wouldn't he be able to figure out a way? You know what I mean? I will give you that it was a lot of information. I think King right here was just trying to show you how crazy and how smart the Riddler can be, you know? But yeah, I mean, I think maybe the reason why I didn't like it as much particularly is because I already know how crazy Riddler can be, you know? But if somebody's picking this book up for the first time and this is going to be their Killing Joke, you know, as a lot of people were referencing, there's also, I want to talk about the Killing Joke reference.
Yeah, I want to talk about that too.
But I think that's kind of one of those things where sometimes people do go a little overboard. And I think every writer does this because they maybe in the back of their mind being like, this might be the first book anybody ever reads, you know, and I want to make Riddler really good, which I think he did. Like he made Riddler pretty powerful in this. If this is the first time you ever read, but this Riddler has been consistent for Tom King. We just read Killing Time. Look at how smart he was in that. You know, he planned out that whole thing in Wars, Jokes, and Riddles. He wasn't scared of Batman. So that's the one thing a lot of writers in the past have been, is they've had Riddler be scared of Batman. I'm not so worried. I wasn't so bothered by the, like what you just talked about. I was, but I think Tom King rectified it at the very last page. I was getting worried that King was going to make Riddler super OP, that nobody messed with Riddler anymore.
And that's what like, because when I started off with Batman can lose, let's just say that. I said that because it was looking at a point that Tom King was going to make Riddler's one bad day into becoming the god of Gotham.
Yeah.
Like it was going really far. And I was like, okay, they can't necessarily end it like this because again, this is supposed to be a Batman book. The hero is supposed to win. In Killing Joke, you still got to a point where Batman was triumphant, quote unquote.
Yes.
It really depends
depending
on
how you want to read it. Yes.
Exactly. So I was like, there has to be something. And like this whole thing of like, if you ever touch me again, I'll kill a random person. And that is going to weigh on you. And then you find out, Barbara Gordon's cats were poisoned. It was probably the Riddler.
Yeah.
Oh, well, he is staying in this hotel and nobody's allowed to get near it. Like he runs this city now and all of these different things. I was just like, this is getting a little much. Like I'm starting to get a little worried about this. And then at the very end, you get the Batman monologue and he's right there.
Yeah. I was getting scared too. Like I was just like, oh shit. But I think because he does that last panel, it just made it better, in my opinion. Because I was like, there's no way. Because first of all, I want to applaud King, and I hope everybody else does this that's writing these books. I'm so glad they didn't try to make this like the first big bad day of Riddler, like rewriting their origins. I'm so glad that King wrote this in. Riddler has existed for a really long time. You know, Batman has fought him before. They have history. They do all this stuff. It wasn't just like, this is the first appearance of Riddler and this is going to be his defining story. I so appreciated that, because now it gives me hope that maybe everybody else is going to tell a story like that too, you know?
Yeah.
And because I don't want to see Catwoman's first day of being Catwoman, you know? Like, I'm hoping G. Willow Wilson, right? Is going to do something different, and it's going to be something along these lines, and it's just something that does differently. Maybe her bad day is the day she's no longer a villain. That could be her bad day.
And like, honestly, with now knowing that everybody has around 60 pages to play around with, like, holy shit.
Yeah, so I will say, as this being the first book that has been written in the series, I'm interested to see where they're going to go. But yeah, I was scared that Riddler was going to be this super OP thing, because I was like, oh no, is this King's jumping the shark moment where he's trying to make his own Killing Joke, and this is going to be fucked up Riddler going, you know, from now on. But then the way he had that monologue at the end of Batman, like saying that he could, you know, I also really love that King does this a lot, where he shows you something at the start of the book and then it ends that same way. Because we saw the guy Riddler killed, like in a 9-panel page, like on his phone, and then like getting ready to leave work. And then at the very end, we see Riddler on his phone listening to this Batman monologue. And that ends essentially his day of work, you know? So I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, seeing that one panel at the end, I was like, fuck yeah. I was like, all right, that's Batman. That was dope. So I enjoyed that part.
So going to the Killing Joke.
Yeah.
One thing that I kind of rolled my eyes at was Riddler called it Joker's one bad day.
Yeah, that was kind of cheesy.
I rolled my eyes.
He just campy, though. Let's be real. He's campy.
He is, but I was just like, I really hope this doesn't become like an ongoing thing.
Yeah, in every book.
Like it even like started to bother me when everybody started to reference Flashpoint as Flashpoint. Like, oh, it was the Flashpoint. It's like that's not what. Oh, okay, whatever.
Yeah,
it's an event, not an actual thing. Okay, whatever. Yeah.
But to be honest, like 9/11 was an event, but we refer to it as 9/11, though. You know, so true. Big words do become the event. You know, so just devil's advocate there. But yeah, go on.
But then we find out that Joker had gone to Riddler.
Yeah.
In order to find out where Gordon and Barbara and all of these people were basically where they were to do the things that he did.
Mm-hmm.
This is adding, without doing anything to the actual story of Killing Joke.
Yeah.
They're adding to it. I know we're fans of that, but how do you feel about this story in particular being the Killing Joke that is being not rewritten but added to?
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever went in depth on this perspective of when I read comics. So I did roll my eyes because I did see this title, like they're using this as a CBR headline. Like they're using like the Riddler rewrites Killing Joke or some shit like that. You know, one of those super clickbaity headlines. And I didn't click on it because I was like, all right, I haven't read that book, so I don't want to get anything spoiled. So I was expecting some kind of Killing Joke reference, right? And to hear that Riddler gave Joker the idea, you know, to go do this, because Riddler says something along the lines of like, yeah, I was going to do something with these two people, but I was kind of bored. So, and he's talking to Gordon in this book. He was like, yeah, I was going to do that, but it was kind of boring to me. Y'all were pretty mundane. So I gave it to the Joker to do what he wants or whatever. I kind of rolled my eyes. I was like, I don't like that. But I don't know if I've ever mentioned this on how I read comics. When it comes to, I don't have a problem with somebody saying something like that. It's not as a big a deal as seeing something done that changes the book. You know what I mean? Because you can easily rewrite what Riddler said by like in the future, right? Like, let's say I write Batman in the future. People, let's just say Tom King's still writing. He's talking about stuff. And people start saying like, oh yeah, can you believe that the Riddler fucking gave Joker the idea, blah, blah. The way you fix that is you have the Joker talking to Batman and being like, Can you believe the Riddler goes around telling everybody that he gave me the idea for the Gordon gig? Like, really? That guy? You know what I mean? That's all you do. That's all you do. And it rewrites that. It's because, villains lie, villains say shit. And so, like, you could say that because they're always kind of going back and forth with each other. They had the Joker War. So obviously they don't like each other at times. So I don't think it's that bad. Was I a fan of it? Not really. But it's worse when, like, the last 2 pages of 3 Jokers, when we saw all of that. And I was just like, you're showing me what's happening from, like, post stuff in the Killing Joke or whatever. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm just kind of like, I'm not a big fan of that. So, I'd rather, if it's just in dialogue, somebody trying to add to a story, that can be easily rewritten. But when there's actual, like, physical evidence of, like, oh, yeah, we flash back to the Killing Joke, and this is actually what happened in the Killing Joke when you weren't looking. I'm like, oh, man, like, go fuck yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I read it. So I see that that's something that it can be annoying, and I think some people might not like, but you can rewrite that in a panel. So, it is what it is. Because I also I am a big advocate of nobody gives Joker his ideas. Like, you just don't do that. Because we saw the classic Mad Love episode, right? Where Joker has all these ideas, he's just never done them. And then Harley goes and does one successfully, and he gets pissed and throws her out of a window. Like, Joker would not take any, like, he wouldn't take something from somebody because it needs to be his joke, So he's not Amy Schumer. So, we'll go from there. But overall, thoughts on the book besides the last 15 pages? Like, what do you think overall? Like the new, like, look on this Riddler, his past. Like, what do you think?
I'm not going to be like some assholes in reviewing us, giving it 1 star. But I will give this a good 3.5 if we're going at it at a 5. I think it did give a menacing look to Riddler. There's the moment where he's like, oh, hey, so-and-so, do you really want to boss me around? Because I know where you live. I know where your kids are. And just so you know, I'm going to kill them. I have broken out of Arkham so many times. You think I can't? And then, like, every other guard is starting to, like, oh, shit. Like, if he could find his family, he could find my family. And then they fucking all start to kill each other. Like, that's fucking dark as shit. And, like, while everybody's killing each other, Riddler's just there like, oh, there's a riddle in here somewhere. Let me think about this. And he's just focusing on the riddle. He's like, oh, can't find it. Either way.
I love that he's lying on the ground and blood's just splattering over him. Which I don't know how Gordon didn't die in that situation, but
neither do I. Like, I saw that and I was just like, how did Gordon not get shot whatsoever?
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. But there was I actually kind of like his origin, being a super smart kid and having something as like little as riddles, like sending you off the deep end. You know what I mean? I kind of enjoyed that. I feel like some people might hate that, but how else do you explain his, like, I guess, love
with
for
riddles?
Obsession. Because I think a lot of people's obsessions do come from a place of anger or hate. You know what I mean? You could say that with people. I mean, look at our political system, right? Like, everybody's like, I pick one side and I hate that side no matter what. And it's just like, oh shit, they don't, get into that because they love something. Majority of the time, I should say. But I don't know. So I thought the origin was pretty interesting. I like the teacher a lot, actually. Kind of being like, because he was one of those teachers that was trying to do more than just shove knowledge into your brain. Like, he was really trying to get you to critically think. And I enjoyed that. Those are some of my favorite teachers, So I thought that was really cool part of this whole story. But I actually kind of, as much as they were trying to make Riddler super OP, I like that somebody just basically said, like, dude, if you touch me, I'm going to kill somebody Like, I'm just going to do that. Like, I'm going to tell you right now, touch me and somebody's going to die. It would have been great if Batman would have, like beat the shit out of him. He'd be like, you can try. And, like, fucking, like, destroyed him. Like, that would have been cool, Like, breaking a leg or something. Like, you can try, oh, no, a brutal Batman. A little bit of me wanted that. But I think the way it played out, because it was mass hysteria, right? Like, that's what Tom King was going for, that mass hysteria. And everybody's like, oh, yeah, give him whatever he wants, blah, blah, blah. And I thought that was pretty interesting. I think he did go over a little bit when it came to, just some of the stuff he was saying, but at the same time, like, every other people have found out his identity. Other people have they just found out Nightwing's identity because he got smashed, So like people find out this shit. It happens. And you would think somebody who's super smart would know this kind of shit too. But it's all about, can they prove it, Because Bruce Wayne has done many things to prove that he's not Batman. So, and I think it adds another layer to these characters that they don't care that he's Bruce Wayne. They care about beating the Batman, and playing with the Batman. They don't give a shit about Bruce Wayne. So I think that's interesting because that's how the Joker is, right? Like if you were to take his top 5 villains and they all know his secret identity, but they don't care, I think that just makes them even more villainous because they're just doing it for shits and giggles now. You know what I mean? And I think that's cool. So overall, enjoyed it. But I mean, is that a fucking surprise at this point? But I am excited to see these other Bad Day comics because I want to know how they're going to be written. And I hope they're just as good, if not better. So, but overall, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. This super long podcast, which Clay said was probably not going to be that long. But yeah, anyways, Clay, what do you got going on this week?
So this week, if you go check out our Star Wars Alliance podcast with me and my friend Katie, we went over a lot of Star Wars news. No reviews or anything. Very, very well. I will say it's probably around the 2-hour mark, but kind of like this, we kind of had a lot to talk about. So go check that out. Of course, there's DC Alliance also. Talked about a majority of what we talked about here with the studio head and whatnot. So that's going to be very, very interesting when it all plays out. But yeah, that's basically it.
Noise. I'm pretty sure I mentioned this on the last one, but no longer have my main channel. It is now referred to as Rotten Juice because that is shut down. But if you want to see the final video, go check it out. Go subscribe to my reaction channel. That's where I'm posting all the new content. But I will be going back to Twitch live streaming. So if you want to come by and hang out during the live streams, go follow my Twitch stream. But that is going to be it, ladies and gentlemen. I am starving. I'm so hungry. Me and Clay are going to go watch a movie here in a couple hours. We're going to go see the new Dragon Ball Z movie. Let us know if you're fans of anime, because we are. But that's going to be it. As always, he is Fanboy Clay. I am Juice Wayne. And remember, Batman is awesome.